Bonnie Stang is suing her ex-boyfriend, Thomas DeJana, for credit card charges in excess of $11,000.
Ms. Stang, it is your claim that Mr. DeJana owes you some money.
Yes.
Owes you some money because he used your credit card.
Yes.
You were given him permission to use your credit card with the understanding that he was going to take care of the bills from the credit card and use it only for emergencies. Mr. DeJana racked up thousands of dollars of expenses on the credit card, and you want that money back.
Yes, Your Honor.
In addition, claim he owes you some money for rent because he rented a condo of yours. All of that is well in excess of this court's limit of $5,000. So we'll get into the rent only if we have to. Let's deal with the credit card.
All right.
Okay? Mr. DeJana, I want you to pay careful attention, sir, because it's my understanding that it is your claim that you were told that this was a credit card for your use because you are a disabled person. She cared for you, and she was just being a nice person. There was never any expectation that you were going to pay this credit card back yourself.
That's my attestation, yes, ma'am.
Mr. DeJana, perhaps I can start with you, sir, if you don't mind. Where and when did you meet Miss Stang?
I met Miss Stang on an internet dating site.
So you were looking for a date?
I was looking for some companionship, yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
38.
Ever been married?
Yes, I have.
How many times?
Once.
Do you have children?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
How many?
One.
How old?
She's a 9-year-old daughter.
And in what state does she live?
New York.
And where do you live?
On San Diego.
You live very far away from your child.
Yes, I do.
How come?
During...
is not an answer.
Excuse me?
Is not an answer.
My apologies. I moved to San Diego because of the divorce situation. Was a little bit too much for me to deal with, being so close to the situation. We were having some custody issues and things of that nature, so I thought that I would move to San Diego for a little while to give myself some room. I ended up loving it and staying.
How often do you see your daughter?
3 or 4 times a year.
Does she come to you or do you go to her?
She's still a bit young for that travel, so I go to New York.
When was the last time you were there?
Christmas.
You pay child support, Mr. DeJana?
Yes, I do.
How much?
$500 a month.
Are you in arrears of your child support order, and in what jurisdiction is your action pending?
It is in Nassau County, and those arrears, there's a petition for dissolution of the arrears going before the court.
So the answer is that you are in arrears?
Yes, I am.
How much in arrears are you, sir?
Not exactly sure, ma'am. Due to the fact that I have been paying cash to my ex-wife at times, the court settlement numbers were different than
Can I
what we
please
agreed
have
on.
what amount they are alleging you are in arrears?
I do
Just a
not
second.
know.
You tell me that you petitioned the court to have the arrears vacated.
That will be happening this summer.
Well, how much did you ask them to dissolve?
Your Honor, I have no idea because I have not spoken with an attorney about this yet. I plan on being back in New York this summer and taking care of these issues.
So you haven't started anything?
No.
He's cute. You know. Now, Mr. DeJana, when did Miss Stang give you a credit card?
Just before I went to New York for Christmas.
And what did you tell her when she gave you the credit card?
I told her thank you very much for helping me out in this time of my need.
Why were you in need, sir?
I went on disability October 26th, and the California Disability
October 26th of 2006, you went on disability.
Yes, Your Honor.
What is the nature of your disability?
I had a torn-up shoulder.
From what?
Playing baseball.
What kind of work were you doing?
I'm an industrial electrician.
Okay. So you went on disability.
Yes, October 26th, my doctor signed the disability note. By the time I was leaving...
Were you playing baseball for your company?
No, I was not playing baseball for my company. I was playing baseball for my own recreation.
Now, I want you to tell me, Mr. DeJana, because it was something was very interesting to me. You couldn't work because of a torn shoulder?
I have no mobility above 180 degrees at that time.
Really?
Anything below here is just fine. I could lift things, I could do just about anything, as long as I didn't go above 180 degrees.
Aren't there other jobs that you could find, sir, that would permit you to work and not lift your arms up all the way up here?
I'm an industrial electrician, and that entails a lot of heavy lifting above my head, screwing in pipes,
No.
wires.
Listen to what I said,
Ma'am,
Mr.
I'm a trained
DeJana.
electrician. That's what I do.
Listen to what I said to you, sir. When you have a 9-year-old child,
Yes.
you pick up cans. You don't have to lift anything above your head in order to pay your child
I
support.
understand that.
I'm glad you understand it. I just want you to understand that I know where we're coming from.
But also-
Now, what were you doing skiing in Utah?
I wasn't skiing, ma'am. I drove my friends there in my truck, and along
You
with their gear
drove
in my
your
trailer.
friends in your truck
Yes, ma'am.
to Utah in February 2007. This is your sworn answer.
Yes.
I had a ski trip planned to Utah with friends. That's what you say, not what she says.
That's a correct statement, ma'am. I had a ski trip planned in February with my friends.
So?
The plan all along was for me to drive there with several of the individuals going on the trip and to haul all of the ski equipment and other snow equipment in my trailer so that people didn't have to deal with it.
Get a job driving a cab. If you can drive cross-country for a ski vacation, sir, and haul all their skis, get behind the wheel of a cab and drive a taxi, drive a limousine service.
That's not my choice of occupation.
Oh, well, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you something.
I don't
you
want
to be, hey, I'm speaking, you're not. You want to be a bum on your own time, that's fine. You have a 9-year-old child. Forget her. You have a 9-year-old child. Iota of relief from your back child support. Not one. And I know the judges in New York City, sir. That's my hometown. And they're not going to do it either. They're not going to give you one break, especially after I send them this tape. Now, how much does he owe you on the credit card?
$11,000.
Can I see some of the purchases that he made, please?
Which happened over 6 weeks, most of which were cash withdrawals.
Listen, how old are you?
Too old for this, 44 years old.
Let me tell you something.
Yes, ma'am.
I could tell that he was a bum in 5 minutes. How does it take you 6 weeks to figure out that this guy hasn't been able to get his life straight?
I have faith in mankind, which has now been
No,
destroyed.
you cannot have faith in mankind. Your head wasn't ruling you.
Thank you. You're right, Your Honor. You're absolutely right. He played on my insecurity.
I don't even see what his attraction is.
He doesn't have any.
Different if you know.
Your Honor, he...
Looked like Tom Cruise. Jesus. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Get him out of here.
How does that excuse you may step out?
Kelvin Sarden claims former friend Megan Foote drove his car recklessly and crashed it. Megan says the accident was the car's fault.
Mr. Sarden, you allowed the defendant to borrow your car. She took your car. She totaled your car. You want it fixed or replaced.
Yes.
Ms. Foote says that you loaned her your car. She did total your car. It was your car's fault, and she's counterclaiming for the pain and suffering she endured when your car was in an accident. What kind of car was this?
The Lexus ES300,
What year?
1993.
How long have you had it?
About 7 to 8 years.
Have you had any trouble with the car?
No.
Has the car ever been in an accident?
No.
You have it serviced regularly?
Yes.
And it has never been in a reported accident other than this one?
No.
Tell me about the circumstances surrounding your loaning Miss Foote the car.
She was supposed to go to the store.
Where were you first?
We was at a mutual friend's house. We was there for a birthday party for a little kid. I had showed up later on, and then...
What date was it?
March 17, 2007.
And I assume you knew her before?
Yes.
How long have you known each other?
For about 1.5 years, closer to 2.
Just friends?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so go.
So I had let her borrow my car. She was supposed to go to the store. Now, in order...
Did she ask you to borrow the car?
Actually, we had needed to go on a store run, and I did not feel like going out. I had just came back from driving all day, so I did not feel like going out, so I had let Megan borrow the car.
Well, tell me how it came about.
We was talking, we was in a room, and then everybody was like, we need to go to the store. So I'm like,
What did you have to get?
We had to get cigarettes and beer.
Okay, go ahead.
And then I had let her borrow the car.
I still haven't heard how that came about. Somebody said we need cigarettes and beer.
Okay,
And?
we was talking, everybody was talking. I'm sitting there saying, I'm not going to the store. So then she has said, I'll go to the store, you know I'm good. And I said, Meg, I said, are you sure you straight? She was like, Cal, I'm good. So I let her borrow the car.
Oh, okay. So everybody had been drinking?
No, not everybody, no.
But you asked her whether she was okay.
Yes.
Anybody been doing drugs that evening?
No.
Smoking a little?
No.
Just beer?
Yes, beer and cigarettes.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right, so then she had asked me to borrow the car to go to the
To
store.
go. She said, I'll go.
Yes.
And I'm good.
Yes.
Which means that she was
Yes.
together enough to go.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So then she went to the store, and now from the house that we was at to go to the store, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to go to the store and back. So I had noticed my car hadn't been back in about a half an hour, so then I started to worry. And then so I had started to eat me some soup. And then after I finished the soup, I had noticed that my car still wasn't back. And then so one of my friends, female friends, had came over, and she was like, are you still waiting for your car? And I said, yes. And she was like, well, I think your car might have been involved in an accident up the block. And I was like, oh, no. So then I hopped in my friend.
Okay. And you found the car. Whatever. All right. You didn't witness the car accident. You were there.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you on your way to the store or from the store?
I was on my way from the store.
On your way back to the party?
Yes.
And what did you have in the car?
I had actually gone to pick up my roommate, and he was supposed to pick her up from work that evening. He had gotten intoxicated and forgot.
Who?
Calvin.
Was supposed to pick up your friend?
Yes.
Your Honor.
Fine. What about this beer and cigarette run?
We had gone to pick up cigarettes at the store.
Who did?
Me and my roommate.
So first you picked up your roommate.
Correct.
And then you went to pick up beer and cigarettes.
Cigarettes. There was
Just
no
cigarettes?
beer to be picked up. No.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
And then you were on your way home.
We were on our way back to the party.
How far from the party were you? About a block?
Probably a minute to 2 minutes away. A few blocks.
So tell me what happened.
I was driving. The steering had malfunctioned. Let me get over here. The steering had malfunctioned probably about around here, where the car had gone into the mailbox. One of my passengers that was sitting in the front passenger seat had stated that I was going to hit a mailbox.
Don't tell me what anybody stated to you.
This way. It had swerved back to the other side of the road. Then it went over to the other side again and had gone up on the grass, hit the telephone pole, and that's about all I remember because I was knocked unconscious.
You have a driver's license?
Yes, I do.
You have a car?
Not at the time. No, I did not have a vehicle.
Did you ever have a vehicle?
Yes.
What happened to the car?
I had sold it because of personal issues.
Sold it why?
I had been going, I'm a single mother, and I was more concerned about caring for my child at the time. The car was not in my expenses. It wasn't in my means at the time, so I sold the vehicle so I was able to accommodate my son as properly needed.
You work?
Yes, I do.
How do you get to work?
I have a vehicle now. I went and purchased a vehicle about a couple months ago.
This happened in March.
Correct.
A couple of months ago is April, May.
Right. I purchased the vehicle in May.
When had you sold your other vehicle?
That was, what, November of 2006?
From November in 2006 until May, what did you do?
I had family members helping me out. My brother lent me his car every now and then.
Well, how did you get to work every day?
I would have my family members drop me off to work.
Who do you live with?
I live with my roommate.
She talks very, very fast on her feet.
Yana,
But I don't believe everything that you're saying to me. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
You understand that? You know, because if something doesn't make sense, there's always that slight hesitation.
Right.
So you can always tell when somebody is giving you a line.
Right.
Making things up as they're going. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. Okay, where's the car now?
The car is total.
Total?
Yes, and I have pictures also right here showing
like
that it's
to see
total.
it.
And also I have an invoice from the place where it was totaled at, stating that it was a total loss.
Well, it certainly is a total loss. Did you replace it?
No.
You know what the blue book is on it?
Yes. I have it right here.
I'd like to see it.
There we go. Right there. And also, Your Honor, just to make you aware, in that area, it's a 30-mile-per-hour zone, and I have pictures of that showing that it's a 30-mile-per-hour zone.
I'd like to see that.
Yes.
Because this wasn't a 30-mile-per-hour accident.
No way.
Now, how fast were you going?
To be honest with you, I don't really recall, but I was never given a speeding ticket.
Were you taken to the hospital?
I refused the ambulance ride because I didn't know what kind of situation he had as far as insurance. I didn't want to put him into
Just a second.
financial debt.
What, are you kidding me? You didn't go to the hospital because you probably had a high blood alcohol level.
I was never given a sobriety test.
I didn't ask you that.
Also, Your Honor, I have in my police report where it says that she had slid 144 feet. Also, if you was doing about 50 miles per hour, you would have been able to stop at around 175
Well, you don't have
feet.
any expert testimony. She doesn't have any expert witness, do you? Are you a mechanic? Friend, you're not a mechanic, are you? You have any proof that there was something wrong with his car?
No, I do not. Your Honor?
What?
I do have an eyewitness that was in the vehicle with me that saw the steering malfunction and lock up on me.
Before or after you slammed on the brakes?
Before.
Oh, really? Love to hear that witness. Love to hear that witness.
Do I stand up?
Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? The question is...
I was there.
Are you sure you want to do this, is my question. Fine.
Yes.
Over here. Your last name?
Rosado.
Miss Rosado, what arrangements had you made to go to the party?
Went to work and I was like, you know what, there's a birthday party, I can go to the party after work.
I said, what arrangements had you made to go to the party?
She was gonna come pick me up.
Now, what would possibly give her the impression that he was supposed to pick you up?
He had told me that day. He had dropped me off that morning to work.
Was there anything wrong with the car?
Not that morning.
How many times has he taken you to work?
A couple of times.
How many is a couple? A couple is two.
Maybe 4 or 5 times.
How many other times have you been in his car?
A lot of times.
Ever had any steering problems?
One time we were in the vehicle and he was like, "Did you guys feel that?" It was his car basically what he was trying to say was his car was messed up when we was in the car.
Don't tell me basically what he was trying to say, madam. Tell me about what happened.
We was in the car one day and we was driving on the highway. I believe they was on the highway. And we was on the highway and he was like, "Wow, did you guys feel that?" He's like, "I have to get my car fixed."
When was that?
The day before we had the accident.
But it had nothing to do with the steering.
Maybe not. I'm not sure. I don't know nothing about cars, Yana.
Listen to me. The day before the accident, so he said to you, "Wow, something's wrong with the car." But yet you got in the car that morning for him to take you to work.
That's true.
Why would you put your life in your hands like that?
Don't know.
Only a stupid person would do that. You're not a stupid person, are you?
No.
Now, you want to tell me what you observed on the 17th of March?
We was in the vehicle. We was driving on Pritchard, which is the road.
How fast were you going?
I don't know, Your Honor.
Well, let me ask you this. Were you going 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour?
I wasn't the passenger. I was in the back seat. I wasn't looking at the speedometer.
You don't have to look at the speedometer to know whether you were going 30 miles an hour or 60 miles an hour.
I wasn't paying attention, Your Honor.
Perfect. Then you can sit down. You weren't paying attention. I'm not interested in what you have to say. Anything else you wanted to say to me?
Yes. He signed up for an insurance policy where he knew he was only covered for him to drive his vehicle if anything were to happen in a situation like this. My question is, why would you let someone use your car when you know you're not insured if anything were to happen in your vehicle?
The question is whether you were driving negligently.
No, Your Honor, I wasn't.
That was sort of a rhetorical question. There's no question in my mind that you were speeding. Based upon the damage to this vehicle, there's no question in my mind that you were going over and above the speed limit. There's also no question in my mind that you had something to drink that night. It's irrelevant, therefore, whether or not he had insurance that covered you. And if you got hurt, you shouldn't have driven too fast, and you shouldn't have had anything to drink while you were driving. That's the price that you pay when you act stupid. Meanwhile, you have to replace his car. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000, that's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Tyrone Smith claims ex-girlfriend Christy Bruffett lied to him about the paternity of her child. Christy is countersuing, claiming Tyrone has been harassing her.
Mr. Smith, it is your claim that the defendant defrauded you and leading you to believe that you were the father of her child. You want attorney's fees and all kinds of compensatory damages. Ms. Bruffett says that you knew all along that you were not the baby's biological father, and she is counterclaiming for harassment and other stuff. I assume that there was a time that two of you were in a relationship.
Yes.
When was that?
2001.
Are you asking me? I wasn't there.
No, it was in 2001.
And when was your daughter born?
My daughter was born January 7th, 2001.
Were you together at the time?
Yes.
Yes, we were.
I'm going to go to you. Your answer suggests that Mr. Smith was aware all along that he was not the child's biological father. I'm going to hear your explanation with regard to that.
Yes, he was, Your Honor. We had started dating briefly when we were working together in December.
December of 2000?
Of 99.
December of 99.
Yes. He had left Minneapolis and went to Chicago for what he said would be a brief period of time when we first started dating, in turn being quite a few months.
How many months?
He left towards the end of January of 2000. He did not return until close to the end of April of 2000.
Is that right?
No. Ain't no way Chrissy told me that little girl was mine, and I signed.
Whether you went to Minneapolis.
No. I was working in Minnesota, so ain't no way I left.
Okay, keep going, Miss Bruffett.
My child was conceived at the very beginning of April by Matthew Moore. When he returned, it was the end of April. He had known of me and Matthew's relationship, but was
Don't
persistent.
tell me what he knew. Tell me what you said to him.
I had told him that I was in a relationship when he had came back from Chicago. Matthew, in turn, towards the end of May, had left and decided he was moving to Florida, and me and Tyrone had started dating again then. But he knew I told him that I was pregnant before he had came back from Chicago in a phone conversation.
Is that right, sir?
No, ma'am.
Doesn't sound right to me.
No, ma'am.
Keep going.
Okay. Up through the pregnancy, we were together. We were dating
all the way up and through my daughter was born. When my daughter was born, he had told me that throughout the whole time that he wanted to be a father to her. He would be that figure because Matthew was not going to return from Florida. Tyrone had told me that he wanted to be the one to step up to the plate. He would take care of her. We would be together. We had plans on being engaged or being married in the future. He had told me then that he didn't want his family to know he wasn't her father because they already did not approve of me and his relationship.
Yana, okay.
So at that point, we had decided that he was going to be her father figure. When she was born, I had told him that I wanted to leave the birth certificate blank in the case that Matthew were to ever return, and that was only fair. And he said that that wouldn't be viable to his family or mine. We argued back and forth about it.
How did this all play out then after 2001? That's what I want to know. Because right now, the child is 6 years old.
Exactly.
And so I want you to tell me, Mr. Smith, what happened 6 years later that brings you to court today?
Well, I was served papers for child support, and I hired myself a lawyer because I wanted
Who filed the petition for child support?
No,
He did, Your Honor.
She applied for welfare.
No, I didn't, Your Honor. I work full-time. I got papers in the mail being served that I was the defendant in a case regarding him taking me to court for visitation. I have to pay child support in our county in order to have visitation with my child. He brought the action, Your Honor. He is the plaintiff on both of these.
Well, there was a motion in Hennepin County for child support.
That was an action that he brought with
He brought an
visitation.
action for what? For child support? To pay child support?
In our
You
county,
brought
we
an
have
action
to.
to pay child support, sir?
No.
I never heard of that. I've been a judge for a very long time. See, Miss Bruffett, my problem is he's fighting the child support in this action.
Exactly.
He's fighting it. He doesn't want to pay it. He's saying, listen, I have no money left. You know, I have a 5-month-old baby. I live. Here's my rent. Here's my lease on my apartment. Here's what I earn.
Yep.
I can't afford to pay any more child support, so I don't get the fact that he petitioned the court for child support. Now, why do you keep looking for her, sir?
Ain't nobody looking for Chrissy.
You weren't looking for her?
No.
I have
For what
police reports
reason?
to that effect, Your Honor.
I'd like to see the police report, please. The only indication here that's interesting is he said he wanted to come over to see the child they have in common. And victim, that would be you, advised that he couldn't come over and that he's not supposed to be calling. So he said, I want to come over to see my daughter. And you said he couldn't. You didn't say it's not your daughter.
Ain't no way I called.
Shut.
Okay.
I do also have that actually in a court finding paper that when we were in court in front of a judge for this order for protection 2004, that I was very adamant through all of that she was not his child, and I just wanted him to leave me alone. That's all I've ever asked, is that he just leave us alone.
Sir, what I want to know is why you're here now in 2007 when in 2004 she clearly told you that you were not the father of this child.
Right.
She told you that.
Exactly.
3 years ago.
Yep.
What woke you up now?
What woke me up now was, I don't know, it took
Your
me,
Honor, he has been harassing me for 6.5 years. This is just another form. I'm sorry.
What woke me up, I don't know.
Well, why don't you say something to try to wake me up, sir? She told you at least 3 years ago. Listen to me. At least 3 years ago.
Right.
At least 3 years ago, she insisted before a judge that you are not the father of the child.
Why she didn't let that be known to the child support people then?
Listen, I don't see any of those papers. I mean, you don't have those papers. What you gave me were papers where, in the matter of the child, you are the plaintiff.
Exactly.
You're the plaintiff, not the county. You're the plaintiff.
Otherwise, Your Honor, he have papers to the effect of Hennepin County.
And that's July of 2006.
Exactly.
July 2006.
Listen, if you're going to agree with me once more, I'm going to throw you out and grant this petition. Do you understand? I don't get it.
Yeah, I'm kind of lost too. You got me lost too.
Well, I'm kind of lost too. I mean, you were told by a judge 3 years ago that she says you're not the father of the child. And now you want attorney's fees and court costs and everything else for an attorney that you just hired 3 years later, in order to get visitation and have a blood test done, and you want the blood test done, she told you weren't the father.
Yana, I had to hire that lawyer because I didn't have an address. I didn't know how to serve her
Your
her
Honor,
papers.
my address is private from him.
She put an order of protection on me, so ain't no way I can get her address.
What did you need her address for?
So she can get served her papers.
What
for my,
papers?
For,
I don't want to hear you. Don't you get it?
Visitation
You know, I don't think
that
that you're worried about him because you keep interrupting him. You know, if you were cowering and worried about him, as you indicate you are in your answer, then you wouldn't be freely contradicting him. Maybe that'll get you to be quiet. How much support did you pay over the last 6 years for your daughter?
6 years, I just...
Alleged daughter.
How much did I pay? About $1,000.
Show me.
That was my daughter. Ain't no way I'm going to keep a receipt.
Show me.
You know?
Okay.
I did that from the kindness of my heart. You know? Ain't no way I'm going to buy that little girl something and say, I want it back.
No, I didn't say buy her something. I said support. You weren't living together for 6 years. Support.
You got me on that one.
Now, when was the last time, Miss Bruffett, that you alleged that Mr. Smith bothered you?
The last incident was the last job that I had to leave because of him when I filed for that last order for protection
Would you give
in
me the
2004.
date, please?
It was February of 2004.
Well, that's a long time ago. It's over. Put a period. Finished.
Yeah.
Not a good idea, if I believe you, which I'm sort of on the fence about. Not a good idea to insert somebody else's name on a birth certificate that is not biologically related to a child. It confuses the child. Put your hand down. Do you understand?
I do.
Unfair.
I do.
Unfair. Look what happens. She go try to get a kidney from him. What'll happen when she's 18? Ridiculous. Mr. Smith, you are finally free.
Yes, ma'am. I am.
Thank you.
I am. I dodged the aunt.
And Miss Bruffett would really like you to leave her alone.
Been there, done that. Long time
And
ago.
I think that you're going to leave her alone.
Oh, yeah. Been there, done that. I got a wife and a son that needs me more than anybody, you know.
Your case is dismissed. It's over. Finished. Put a period. So is yours. Finished. Over. It's dismissed. Goodbye.
Thanks, Your Honor.
Michael Bone says his car was vandalized during a party thrown by the defendant's daughter. Tim Howard Sr. says he was also victimized that night.
Mr. Bone, your car was vandalized after a party that was held at the defendant's house.
Yes, ma'am.
It was, I assume, your 18th birthday party?
Yes.
You're the brother?
Yes.
And you believe that Mr. Howard, who permitted this party to be had in his house, is responsible for the damage to your car?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Howard, while sympathetic that your car was damaged, says that the people who damaged your car were uninvited guests, uninvited thugs at the party, and you should pursue them for damaging your car. Stand up, please, next to your dad. Mr. Howard, you were not home at the time of this party, is that right?
Yes.
Where were you?
I was at work.
And this was on a Friday evening?
Yes, it was, Your Honor.
What date?
December 15th, 06.
And when is your birthday?
December 20th.
So the party wasn't held on your birthday?
No, because there was school, so couldn't do it on a school night.
All right, Mr. Bone, were you an invited guest at this party?
Yes.
You were there with your girlfriend?
Yes, ma'am.
That's this young lady?
Yes.
What time did you arrive at the party?
About 7:30, ma'am.
Had you ever been to the Howard house before?
Yes, ma'am.
Does your girlfriend live close by?
This is the next door neighbor, ma'am.
Stand up. How long have you and Haley been friends?
I'd say since about 5th grade.
So you were invited to the party?
Yes, ma'am.
How long did you stay at the party, Mr. Bone?
Approximately half an hour.
Why did you leave after a half an hour?
There wasn't too many people that we know, and there was a lot of alcohol there, so we decided we were going to go back to Jessica's house.
How many people were there?
Probably 40 to 50 people.
Is that right?
Yes, I'd say that's about right.
Mr. Howard, how many people did your daughter tell you were going to be at this party?
Maybe about 15, 20 people that I was aware of.
Now, when you got there and there were 40 to 50 people at the party, you say that there was alcohol. Tell me about where the alcohol was set up.
It really wasn't just set up. It was kind of a bring-your-own thing. It was pretty much spread out through the entire house.
How many people did you know at the party?
About 6 to 7 people that I actually had known.
And how many people did you know?
I knew about 10 to 15.
And how old were the people that you knew?
The people that I knew were 17 or 18, and they were all in high school. The others, I didn't know.
Of the 17 and 18-year-olds there, were any of them drinking?
Of the ones that I knew, a couple of them were, and the ones that I was hanging out with were not.
And what about you, Mr. Bone? Of the people that you knew?
Those were the same people that
Same people, and they were?
Drinking. The ones that we had left with went back to her house with us. It was four others that had went back with us, and they left shortly after that.
So it's 7:30, and you stayed for a half hour until about 8 o'clock. When you left, some people went with you.
Yes.
Were the people that went with you people who were or were not drinking?
We're not.
We're not. Is the reason that you left early because of the number of people that were there?
I left early because I didn't feel comfortable, being that I didn't know half the people that were there and the amount of alcohol that was there. I just did not feel comfortable.
Did you speak to Haley about the number of people that were there?
I did not speak to her about the number of people.
What did you speak to her about?
About the alcohol.
What did you say to her, and what did she say to you?
I told her that having the alcohol there, being that she's underage, was not a good idea, since my father, who lives right next door, is a cop. And
what did Haley say to you?
She didn't really say much, just that it would be okay, nothing bad would happen.
You remember that conversation?
Yeah, I do.
You want to explain that to me?
Well, I didn't think it would be a big problem because we knew, well, I knew some of the people. There was other people that just came with their friends that I didn't know. And everything was cool for the time we were there, so I didn't think there would be a problem.
All right, Mr. Bones, so tell me what happened with your car.
Well, after we had left the party, we went to Jessica's house, and we received a call about, I don't know, 11, saying that there had been a fight at Haley's house and that they needed help breaking it up. So me and her father, Ron, went outside, and we seen people fighting around my car and various places in the yard. And after he had broken it up, I walked around my car and seen that the mirror was laying on the ground next to the car, and there was a bunch of mud on the window and on the door and on the fender and on the trunk of my car.
What time was this?
Probably 11 o'clock.
Okay. How did that happen?
There was a fight. There's a total of 2 fights, and that last one that happened, a bunch of people had left. They were the ones that we told to leave, and they came back.
Those people that you told to leave, had they been there earlier in the evening when they were there?
Not all of them.
But some of them?
Yes.
And so you told them to leave?
Yes, and they were not invited back. And there was just a few people that were left, like around 10, and then they were all there, and all these guys came back, and they had brought more people with them. And then we seen the trucks and the vehicles coming down the road, and people ran to the door to see what was going on, and we saw they were back. People went outside to see them, and I guess the fight broke out. I ran upstairs to call Jessica's dad, the cop, because I knew something bad was going to happen. And I didn't want no one to get hurt, seriously.
Did you know the names of any of the people that were out there and involved in this fight?
Some of them I did. Others I did not.
Did you tell the police their names?
I didn't really get a chance to talk to the police very much, actually. I told them what had happened, and then that was pretty much it.
Well, his car was damaged.
Right. I wasn't even downstairs, because it happened in the basement. And I was upstairs. I stayed in my room because I'm not dumb enough to go back downstairs. There was a bunch of guys fighting.
Anything else you want to tell me?
No.
Anything you want to tell me?
Yes. The night of the party, I was chaperoning it. When I showed up, a few people had already brought alcohol.
What time did you show up?
Around 8 p.m. There was already a few kids there, a few adults there.
Just a second.
Sorry.
Your first name is?
Tim.
How old are you, Tim?
31.
Tim, first of all, you should have been there at 7:30, not 8 o'clock. That's number one.
I wasn't actually told to be there.
I don't care what you were told. If your father was relying on you as the adult to chaperone the party, by the time these people got there at 7:30, there were already 40 to 50 people there. So if you arrived at 8 o'clock, you got there too late. Go ahead.
He had mentioned the party about a week ago that it was going to happen. And so we didn't get on the same page, but I showed up at home at 8 o'clock that evening, and it was going on.
Oh, just a second. So that you were not asked to chaperone the party.
I was asked to chaperone, but we didn't, somehow he didn't mention to me that it was going to be that day.
Ah, perfect. Mr. Howard, this is not looking good for you, sir. I want you to understand that. Are you getting the fact that this is not looking good for you?
Yes, Your Honor, I do.
I'm going to hear the rest of the scenario from your son, but this is not looking good for your team.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I show up around 8 o'clock in the evening. There's about 15 people there. 3 of them already had alcohol with them. They were already drinking. So I checked their IDs. I made them go downstairs with the people that were over 21 to play pool. Everyone else that was under stayed upstairs. I stayed down there with them for a while. Every once in a while I walked upstairs, checked on some people. I let Haley watch everybody else upstairs. I didn't notice anybody drinking up there. When I went back downstairs, I was watching people playing pool. Shortly after that, within a half hour or so, about 50 or 60 people just barreled in the door. I knew I couldn't handle all these people.
Let me explain something to you.
Yes.
These people came to a party at 7:30. This young lady has been a friend of your sister since the 5th grade. These people tell me that the reason that they left at 8 o'clock was because there were 40 to 50 people there at the party.
That wasn't until
So
after
I'm
o'clock.
speaking. Many of whom they didn't know, and there was underage drinking there. Now, they were coming to a party that day. She was coming there because she was a friend of your sister's. So who do you think I'm going to believe? The people that left at 8 o'clock because they felt so uncomfortable there that they left a party and they took 4 people with them? Or you think I'm going to believe you, who was downstairs watching some people play pool? Do you get it? You get where I'm going? Sit down. Now, Mr. Howard.
Yes, ma'am.
You have 30 seconds to tell me why this isn't your responsibility.
I feel I'm just as much of a victim as Mr. Bone here because of the fact that I've got property damage, which I have some pictures to show
I
you.
couldn't care less about your property damage. You brought that on yourself.
Okay. I don't know who these people were. They were uninvited, and they just showed up with bats. And
How old are you?
I'm 54.
They didn't show up with bats, sir. They were at the party, many of them. During the course of the evening, they were thrown out of the party, and they went and they got more people to come back with them. But some of the same people, according to your daughter, because she first said she knew who some of them were, and then she said, well, I don't know, I was in my room, I didn't want to go. She knew the names of some of them who came back. They just came back with more people. Now, you were working Friday night?
Yes.
Do you work Saturday night?
Yes.
Do you work Sunday night?
No.
Then that's the day you should have had the party. Not on a night when you're not going to be home. If you choose to allow your teenage daughter to have a party in her house, and you believed her, which is the first mistake with regard to a teenager to begin with, right? That they're going to have a handful of people, 15 people, that turns into 40 or 50, and you don't make adequate arrangements for supervision, which clearly you didn't make, because according to your son, you had discussed this party but hadn't made any definitive plans for him to chaperone it. That's what you told me.
I wasn't.
Well, that's your problem. When you open your house to teenagers and you're not there, you're going to be responsible for anything bad that goes on in that house. Fortunately, it was just his car that got damaged. But if somebody had been sexually molested in your house, some 17-year-old, you wouldn't have a house anymore, sir. You wouldn't have a house, you wouldn't have a car, you wouldn't have a bank account, you would have nothing, because it would be your fault. And you can't say, I thought my son was going to chaperone and I didn't know the people. When you open your house to teenagers to have a party and things get out of hand, it's your fault. Period. End of discussion. So if your house was damaged and vandalized, it's a good lesson. You're responsible for the damage to his car, which is how much, sir?
$2,574.39.
Can I see it, please? You have pictures of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see the pictures, too.
They're not very good pictures, but they are there.
What, were they there with bats? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,574.39. Thank you very much. That's all.
Carolyn Kruger is suing her brother, Kevin Perks, for his share of their mother's funeral. Carolyn says Kevin is the only sibling who refuses to pay.
Miss Kruger, Mr. Perks is your brother.
Yes, he is.
And your claim is that he is responsible for a portion of your mother's funeral expenses.
That's correct.
Mr. Perks says he is not responsible for any portion of your mother's funeral expenses. When did your mother pass away?
April 22nd, 2007.
And it is my understanding that her primary asset was a life insurance policy. Is
That's
that correct?
correct.
Did she have any other assets other than this life insurance policy?
She had a few $100s in a bank account that I used to pay for the nursing home.
Other than the life insurance policy, did she have a home? Did she have a car?
No.
Did she have bonds? Anything else?
No.
Life insurance policy?
Yes.
And how much was the life insurance policy?
I don't know the total amount. We each got a portion of it. It was $2,082.74 a piece times 8, so a little over $17,000.
And insurance policy, I assume it was from work? Or?
Correct. It came out of her pension.
So it was a pension?
Right.
And it is also my understanding from your complaint that there was no named beneficiary on the policy.
That's correct.
So far, are we correct on that, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
So, only asset is a $17,000 life insurance policy, correct?
Yes.
You have 7 siblings.
That's correct.
Correct. Your mother did not have a will.
No, she did not.
So you decided, I assume, that you had been taking care of her business?
Correct.
You didn't object to that?
I didn't object. I didn't know I was objecting to because she never consulted me on anything.
Don't give me a lot of baloney.
Carolyn Kruger says her brother, Kevin Perks, refuses to pay his share of their mother's funeral. Kevin says he shouldn't have to.
Now, when you went to visit her, did you take charge of her medical care, of overseeing her stay in the nursing home? Did you take care of her other business, or did you just go and visit her?
I just went and visited her.
So you knew somebody had to be taking care of that.
That is correct.
And who did you think was taking care of that business?
Carolyn.
There we go. And you didn't object to that?
No, I did not.
Perfect. Now, you did receive a portion of this life insurance, did you not?
That's correct.
How much did you receive?
$2,076 and some change. I don't know the exact amount.
When your mother passed away in April of 2007, did she pass away in the same town where you live?
Yes.
Did you go to the funeral?
Yes.
Did you put on a suit?
Yes.
You married?
Fiance.
Did your fiance go with you?
Yes, she did.
Do you have children?
Yes, we do.
Did you bring your children to the funeral?
Yes.
So they went to their grandmother's funeral?
Yes.
Were there flowers at the funeral?
Yes.
Was there a grave site that you went to?
Yes.
Did you ever stop to say to yourself, who's paying for this? Mr. Parks,
no.
Did you ever stop to say to yourself, who's paying for this?
Yes.
Did you think the burial fairy was paying for it?
No.
No. So you knew that somebody had to be paying for it?
That's correct.
Okay. And who did you think? Put your hand down. Who did you think that was?
The life insurance policy.
Right. Look how smart you are. You thought that her life insurance policy was paying for it, right?
That's correct.
Put your hand down. It did. All your brothers and sisters kicked in from the life insurance policy to pay for the funeral, except you. That's what the case is all about. Now, your sister could very easily have said, I am going to take all the proceeds of this life insurance policy, and I'm going to pay the $6,000 for Mom's funeral, and whatever is left over, I'm going to give it to my brothers and sisters. Right?
That's correct.
Well, that's what you thought happened. Instead, your sister decided to do what she considered the right thing, which was name each of you as a beneficiary on the life insurance policy. You all got your money, and everybody divided the $6,000 or whatever it was for the funeral and sent her a check for their portion. Go!
Well, Your Honor, the life insurance policy, normally most life insurance policy, they have a provision, or the funeral home has an agreement where you can have a form filled out to have the life insurance policy paid for it, the funeral expense itself. She never told me about this expense whatsoever. A week after I got the check, I never heard anything from her, never agreed to it, never paid anything. She didn't consult me about it, nothing.
So? And your point would be?
I should have been consulted further on...
I'm consulting you right now. I'm consulting you. Who's supposed to pay for your mother's funeral? What? Not you. You have no legal obligation to pay for your mother's funeral. None. But you have no right to accept full proceeds of a life insurance policy, which by law is supposed to pay for her funeral expenses before it's dispersed to any beneficiary. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. So it was done a little bit backwards. Instead of taking the money out and then put your hand down. Does it sound like you're losing?
No, I'm sorry.
So instead of taking the $6,000 out and paying for the policy and then distributing it to you, she distributed it to the siblings and then says, okay, brothers and sisters, now send me a check. It's the same thing. Do you understand?
Yes.
You don't have to be consulted about that, sir. This one wants to say something. I'm just dying to hear what she has to say. Dying to hear what she has to say.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, but during the funeral and everything that was at the funeral, as far as the casket, the flowers, anything, Kevin was not allowed or invited to pick any of that stuff out.
Was he invited to pick out who the nurses were going to be at his mother?
Your Honor.
Pay attention to what I'm saying to you. Was he consulted, and did he make himself responsible for his mother's care in the nursing home where she was?
He had no choice.
Of course he had a choice. Did he have a choice to pick you?
Yes.
Then he had a choice to pick where his mother went and who took care of her and participating in her care. He chose not to do that. Just as he chose, madam, listen to me very carefully, he chose to let somebody else take the responsibility for picking out a casket, for picking out flowers. It was not as if he wasn't invited to the funeral. He went with you and his children. He just made himself dumb, which I have a feeling isn't much of a stretch. You owe your sister your share of your mother's funeral. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. How much was it?
$750.
Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
18-year-old Monica Vasquez claims ex-boyfriend Lendon Trujillo owes for kicking her car and smashing it with trash cans. Monica also claims Lendon destroyed her cell phone.
You are?
Lydia Calderon, Monica's mother.
Okay, but you don't know anything about this case particularly, do you?
No.
Except that the car belonged to you.
Belongs to both of us.
Are you both on the title?
Yes.
Why don't you sit down for a moment? You're Monica?
Yes.
This was your boyfriend?
Yes.
How long was he your boyfriend?
For about 3 years.
Monica, you say that he broke your cell phone and vandalized your car.
Yes.
He says he didn't do it. So tell me when he vandalized your car.
It was like about 1:30, and he showed up at my house.
1:30
in the morning.
On what date?
July 28th.
Where were you?
I was at home.
Who else was at home?
My sister.
It was 1:30 a.m. Do you live with your sister?
Yes, I do.
What does your sister do for a living?
She works at Premier Real Estate. She's
And
a
what do you do?
receptionist.
What do you do?
I'm a cashier.
Where?
At Rite Aid.
How long have you been working there?
In October, it'll be a year.
Mr. Trujillo.
Yes.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a tattoo artist.
You work for yourself?
Yeah, pretty much.
What does that mean?
I'm not working at a shop right now.
So where do you work from?
Out of my house.
Are you licensed?
No.
Do you have to be licensed where you live?
No.
Where do you live?
I live in California.
And in California, you don't need a license to give somebody a tattoo with
No,
a
you
needle?
don't.
That's a big mistake, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, you need a license to give somebody a pedicure,
Yeah.
but not to give somebody a tattoo.
No.
You
Not.
sure about that?
I'm positive about that.
Anyway, you make a living at this?
Yeah.
Well, especially since you have no overhead.
What's that? No. What? No. What? No.
Overhead.
Overhead? Oh, okay. Yeah, that was over my head. Sorry.
Unfortunately, Mr. Trujillo, that was true.
Right. Sorry about that.
All right, Miss Vasquez, why don't you tell me about what happened on the 28th of July?
Okay, he showed up at my house, and he knocked on my window. I came out of my room, and I went to the garage, because he went around the house. And I had told him to leave because my sister did not want him around her house.
Why did he come there?
He
said you called him.
No, I did not call him.
You say in your papers, sir, that you went over to the house at 1:30 on July 28th because she called you.
Yeah, we had been talking.
No. Because she called you on July 28th. That's
Okay.
why you said you went over there, right?
Right.
And how did she call you? On your cell phone?
Yeah.
Do you have your cell phone records?
No. I'm sure if I went and got them, I could bring them back to you. I mean, if you wanted to, another
We
date
don't
or
do
something.
do-overs here, Mr. Trujillo. What we do is, when you're coming to court, you're supposed to be prepared. You know what it's like, Mr. Trujillo? You do tattooing
Yeah.
in your house.
Right.
Let's say you made an appointment with somebody who's going to get a really big tattoo. They were going to pay a whole lot of money
Yeah.
for the tattoo. And let's say they arrived and they sat down for you to do the tattoo and you forgot to buy ink.
Right. Yeah, it's happened a couple times.
That's what it's like, Mr. Trujillo, when you come here without evidence.
Yeah, I understand.
With just your good looks and tattoo. That's what happens. You're supposed to bring evidence, bring proof. So we have no proof that she called you to arrive at her house
Right.
at 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so you went outside and you told him to disappear.
Yes.
And what happened?
And by that time, my sister had came out because she heard the knock because our rooms are right next door. And she had went out and told him to leave her house because she was going to call the
police.
Because the incident with the phone.
Oh, so the incident with the phone happened first?
Yes.
And that happened about a month before?
Yes.
Why don't you tell me what happened?
Okay, I was at work, and I get out of work at 10, and he showed up at my work, so I left.
Had you not been seeing each other?
No.
Go ahead.
And I left my work, and he followed me down the street, and he was telling me to pull over, and he was next to me in my car. And so I pulled over because he was coming closer to my car, and he had said that if I didn't pull over, he would go to my house and, break windows. And so I pulled over, and he had got my phone to check it for what, I don't know, we weren't together. And I was telling him to give me back my phone, and he was like, "You want your phone?" So he cracked it in half and gave it to me. And so...
Had he been drinking?
Yes, he had a beer in his car.
Who else was in the car?
He was by himself that night.
You got to get a job out of the house, Mr. Trujillo.
Okay.
Listen to me, sir. First, I want you to tell me who these people are that you brought with you to court today.
I brought my dad to court with me today and my brother Fabian. This is my dad, Johnny, and Fabian and Silo.
Yeah, and you all live together?
No.
Do you live alone?
No, I live with my uncle.
Why?
Because my dad has recently moved, and he had moved in with someone else, and there wasn't enough room, so I actually went to live with my uncle.
And where does your brother live?
With his grandpa.
How old are you?
I'm 18.
How old is your brother?
19.
Who did your father move in with?
His girlfriend.
Was there a time you were all living together?
At one time, yeah.
When was the last time you lived together with your father?
About 2 months ago, I lived with my dad in Visalia.
And your brother also lived with your father?
No. My brother has always lived with his grandpa in Tulare.
Did you break her phone?
No, ma'am, I didn't.
Well, tell me what happened, Mr. Trujillo.
Me and Monica had been seeing each other before this incident with the cell phone happened. We had been talking, and we had been texting each other, and she had told me that she got out of work at 10 o'clock, and that if I wanted to see her after work. And I said, okay, cool. I had the car, so I said, okay, I'll meet you at Taco Bell. So we went, and we met at Taco Bell parking lot, and we were there. Everything was fine. We were talking, hugging. Everything was cool. And then a call comes through on my phone. And when a call comes through on my phone, it was a ringtone, as, you know, the ringtones, like I know you've heard them, like the lovey-dovey ringtones, like the, you know what I mean, like the guy and girl together ringtones. You know what I'm talking about or no? Like, I mean, I could sing one. Like, I mean, I could sing one for you, if you want me to sing one. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, at the time when that had happened, we were both kind of looking at each other because I was already like, okay, you know, something's wrong, I messed up. So Monica had...
Yeah.
Yeah, so at that time, Monica had snatched my phone out of my hand. And when that had happened, she snatched my phone, and I reached for it back. We kind of got into an argument, a little conflict, you know what I mean? And
Who was calling you, Mr. Trujillo?
Just a friend.
Boyfriend or a girlfriend?
It was a girlfriend.
The timing was really terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't expected.
It was messed up.
Yeah, it was at the right time. So when that had happened, I was leaning up against my car, and Monica had thrown my phone at me. But when she had thrown my phone at me, somehow, and you can tell she has little hands. I don't know how she had both phones in her hand, but when she had thrown it at me, my phone rolled over the car, the hood of the car, and her phone hit my car and broke. However it broke, it was snapped in half, and that's basically what happened.
When he met you at Taco Bell, had you told him that you were going to be out of work at 10 o'clock?
No, he called my work around 10, and he said, I was around the corner. He goes, I'll be there right now. And I was like, I'm going home, I'm leaving. And at that point, my boss had opened the doors to let me leave earlier than everybody else, because I had told him. And when I got in my car to leave, he was already at the corner, and that's when he just followed me.
You think if I called her boss would say that they opened the door and let her out a little early?
No, I don't.
You don't think so?
No, I don't.
What's your boss's name?
David Centeno.
Give me his number.
It's my phone, and my phone is out there.
The Rite Aid number, 67816. There you go.
7816? Now, Mr. Trujillo.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to listen to me very carefully.
Okay.
When somebody tells me I tend to disbelieve everything that they say, especially when I have to get my rather sizable keister off this chair and go in the back to make a telephone call. Do you understand?
Oh, yes.
Now, I am prepared to do that.
Okay.
Unless you want to revise your version of the cell phone events.
No, ma'am. No, not at all.
Okay, so let's call Mr. David, because he doesn't have any clue that I might be calling him. He is going to tell me whether or not he let her out early because you were going to come over.
Right.
Okay. Let's see.
Okay.
Yes, is David Centeno there, please? David, this is Judge Judy Scheindlin. How are you? Good, thank you. David, I have a question for you. I'm here trying a case with Monica Vasquez. And I want you to think back to sometime around the end of June of this year, in the evening when she was leaving. There was an incident with her boyfriend when he called the store. Do you remember that? Could you tell me what happened, please, David? Mm-hmm. Okay. Wonderful. David, you're a very, very nice man for speaking to me. I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you. Bye-bye. Boss is a very nice gentleman. Mr. Trujillo, I suggest you spend a little less time tattooing and piercing yourself and a little more time honing your truthful skills, sir. Honing your truthful skills. Ask your father what that means. Honing your truthful skills, sir.
Oh, okay.
Because Mr. Santano says that he remembers the evening very well. You would call the store. You said, I'm going to get down there before the store closes. They let her leave early, and they stood there to watch her get in her car and take off before you got there because she had already broken up with you, and she was afraid about what was going to happen if you got there.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So now I believe very little, sir, of what you're going to tell me. So now he owes you a cell phone. Now I want you to tell me what happened when he vandalized your car.
Okay, that was the night he showed up at my window.
That's correct.
Okay.
And you came out, you told him to leave. Sister came out, and you told him to leave. And I understand that there were other people with him.
His father and his brother.
Two geniuses.
Yes. And they were all drinking.
Two geniuses. Well, they can't live together, so at least they can drink together. I guess that's what family's all about. Go ahead.
And my sister had told his dad to keep him away from her house. And his dad didn't really understand what was happening because Lyndon didn't let him know about the night with the cell phone. So he didn't understand why my sister was...
I think if there wasn't a cell phone, his father wouldn't have understood. Go ahead.
So after that, my sister had told him she was going to call the cops and get a restraining order on him. And at that time, Lyndon was mad because his dad had told me, well, then I don't want her calling him or at my house. And I had said, I haven't called your son and I haven't been to your house. And at that time, Lyndon had got mad and they were drinking. So he kind of like pushed my sister. And at that time, when he got angry, my sister ran to the house to call the cops. And at that time, I had ran back to the house too because he was still mad. And he followed me to the garage door on the side of the house. And when I closed the door and locked it, I could feel him trying to open it. He just went to the front of the garage where my car was parked, and I heard a loud noise. And at that time, I had lifted the garage door up because my sister had came out, and we seen him leave the side of my car and get into his dad's car. And the two trash cans were against my car, laying against my car.
You have pictures of the car?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at them. Outrageous. When did you purchase this car?
Last year in November.
Bought it yourself?
My mom helped me.
Who pays for it?
I do.
Paid the insurance too?
Mm-hmm.
Stand up next to him. You came here. You might as well stand up here.
Monica Vasquez says ex-boyfriend Lyndon Trujillo owes for vandalizing her car and for destroying her cell phone.
What were you doing out with your son at 1:30 in the morning?
We had went to the club.
What club?
El Presidente.
What were you doing at the club?
Dancing.
And drinking?
I was, yes.
With whom?
Females.
All different kinds?
Pretty much, yeah.
So if you were dancing and drinking with a whole bunch of females, you weren't watching what your two sons were doing?
Actually, he was on his cell phone the whole time we were there, text messaging and back and forth. And I went to him and asked him, who you texting? And he said, Monica. So
And that's what he said to you?
Yeah.
That's what he said to you, but you don't know that that's true.
No, but if I may, Your Honor.
Yeah.
The day before the cell phone incident had occurred,
Yeah.
she came to my house, and my dad was coming up from work, and she was coming downstairs. I was walking her down to her car.
And?
And that's why I don't understand really how it could go from her being upstairs in my house and me and her being together in a relationship or working things out, and then to...
Well, were you working things out, or were you in a relationship, sir?
No, we're working things out to be in a relationship.
So what did you go there at 1:30 in the morning for?
Because we had been texting each other. We had been texting and talking to each other. And
Did she invite you there?
yeah, I had her on speakerphone because I was the designated driver.
Yeah, she had told him.
Yeah, she was in the car. She knew that the speakerphone wasn't on.
That her sister was asleep, the kids were gone, for him to go over there and visit to see her.
And what were you going to do?
I just sat in the car because I was drinking.
And what about him?
He was in the back seat.
So the two of you were just going to sit there in the back seat of the car,
Well,
in the
actually,
front seat
yeah.
of the car, while he went inside to visit with his girlfriend?
They didn't go inside. They stayed outside in the driveway.
Fine. So he goes over to see Monica, and how did her car get dented?
When we got there,
Monica had stepped outside. She was walking towards her car. We pulled up, and she went like this, like waved us over there. We all three got out of the car, walked over. She showed us a dent on her car and said that she had got into an accident with a motorcyclist. And me and her made a few comments back and forth because I had just recently wrecked my Harley. And I had told her, you know, so anyways, we said a few statements back and forth. And then me and Fabian went back and got back in the car. They stayed there talking, hugging, kissing until Marie came outside. And Monica flipped the whole script when Marie came outside because she was upset.
Were you at his house the day before?
No, I was not.
Yeah, you was.
No, I was not.
Yeah, you was.
No, I was not.
When you send a text message, could you save those things?
They stay for 14 days.
Huh?
You can lock them.
Save them, right?
Yes, you can.
Show me.
Your Honor, I don't have my phone with me. I don't have any proof right now, Your Honor, so it's...
Why don't you, sir?
Because I came unprepared. I came on intentions of knowing that what I know is true.
Is everything that you said just now as truthful as you went over to the store the end of June, invited by her to come over to the store?
What, to her store, Rite Aid?
Yeah.
No, I didn't go to Rite Aid.
Oh, no.
No, I said I went to Taco Bell. I drove to Taco Bell. She was at Rite Aid when we had talked on her.
Why would you think, Mr. Trujillo, that she would say to her boss, concerned, I just want to get out of here before he comes over, and the boss distinctly remembers all the employees watching her get into the car to make sure she was safe and leave?
But I wasn't in her parking lot, though.
I don't care whether you were in a parking lot or not, sir. Why do you think that boss would remember that?
Oh, yeah, no, boss, no. I'm not saying that. She got in her car, but I'm saying what I'm trying to tell you, though, is that I did not go into her parking lot.
No, what you said, Mr. Trujillo, was that you had an appointment to meet in Taco Bell.
Yeah.
And that, sir, is a lie. That, sir, is a lie.
That we met in Taco Bell?
It is a lie that you had an appointment to meet at Taco Bell. Because when she heard from you, she asked her boss if she could take off because she was concerned about her safety. They all watched her leave.
Then why would she have pulled into Taco Bell if she knew that she could have got away from me?
I don't know what you were doing, sir. And I don't know what your drunken father was doing or your drunken brother was doing on the night this happened with the car. I have no clue. All I know is, sir, you lied to me once, and you also don't know the law in the jurisdiction where you live because you're required to have a license to tattoo. Sir.
Okay.
And what is your address?
My address right now?
Where you're doing the tattooing?
In a house. On
What is the address?
I don't know my address. I just know it's on Bradley Street. I've only been there like a month, 2 months, so I don't know the address. I don't get mail there.
Did you make more than 3 children or just 3?
Only 3.
Only 3. So far you got 2 losers, right? 1,
I don't consider
2.
them losers, but...
Well, so far they haven't done anything to make you proud.
Sure they have.
I don't see
They
it.
graduated high school. That made me proud.
My God. My God, that's like the 8th wonder of the world.
That's an accomplishment in this family. That's right. I'm sorry.
You got to do something with it once you graduate from high school.
Yes, I totally agree.
So pleased that you agree with me. I've been looking forward all year for a person of your stature to agree with me. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $950. That's all. Goodbye.
Ronnie Garcia and Anthony Blanks are suing Anthony's cousin, Cassandra Carey, for a stolen car stereo and for the return of their pit bull, Coco.
This is your cousin, is that right?
Yes.
And your name is?
Anthony Blanks.
This is your wife?
My girlfriend.
Girlfriend. And you live together?
Yes.
Your cousin was living with you?
Yes.
Is your claim that she borrowed your car with your permission, and while she had your car, the stereo and amps and whatever was stolen out of the car? You believe she should be responsible for that?
Yes.
And also, when she left, without notice to you, she left and she took one of your dogs?
Yes.
Ms. Carey says that she took the car to school and the car was broken into and the stereo taken. It's really not her fault. It was a criminal matter. And that the dog was hers. Let's deal with the easy stuff first. Let's deal with the dog first. When was this dog purchased?
June of '06.
Who went to purchase the dog?
All 3 of us.
How many dogs were purchased?
2.
How many had you intended to purchase?
1.
Why did you purchase 2?
I couldn't decide which one I wanted.
Why do you think that Miss Carey would believe that the one that she took with her was her dog?
I have no idea.
Well, why don't you tell me?
June being right before my 21st birthday of '06, I fell in love with the dog the moment I saw her when we arrived at the home. And I wanted the dog. It was stated there at the woman's house that it would be an early birthday present, and I was to help with the other dog that we purchased along with the dogs that were already at the house prior to the purchase.
Mr. Blanks, was your niece living with you?
No, she was there off and on the weekend. Actually, for the day of her birthday, she was in Vegas or Reno. I don't remember. I can't recall which one.
You mean after August?
Yeah, she was back with her mother.
Where was the dog?
At my home, at mine and my girlfriend's home.
Okay. Were you living with your mother?
I was back and forth between the two, yes.
And when you went to your mother, where was the dog?
At their house.
When did you take the dog?
On March 27th.
You returned the dog within 5 days. Do you understand?
I'm not giving that dog
Oh,
back.
yes, you are. Oh, yes, you are. Listen, if I felt as if it was your dog, there's no question that dog would be with you. But when you have a dog that's yours, it's with you 24/7. Not when you go back to your mother, you leave the dog with them, they take care of the dog, then you come back, then you go to your mother, and then you come back, and the dog stays with them. You don't do that. That's not fair to the dog. I don't care about you. You are irrelevant. The dog has a companion, and this was the dog's home. And just because you may have been moving and said, well, now I'm going to take my dog, the dog was living in a perfectly comfortable place for a year. You can't uproot an animal like that. Go buy yourself a new dog.
When I tried to take the dog, when I moved out initially the first time, I wasn't allowed to. And
Then sue them. Then what you do is go to court. You were over 21. Take them to court and say, you have my dog, I want to take my dog. But instead you came back and forth and lived with them, and then you didn't live with them. You also borrowed their car, right? So you weren't angry with them. You have to return the dog to them. It's their dog. Go buy yourself another one. Do you get it?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I'm cutting an order, so they will come with a marshal to take the dog. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Good. You know where she lives?
No.
Oh, I'll find out. Where do you live?
I'm between residents right now.
Where's the dog? Don't look over there. Where is the dog?
She's at my boyfriend's house.
Where is your boyfriend?
He's here.
Here?
Here.
Well, who's taking care of the dog now?
We paid someone to babysit her.
At the house?
Yes.
Perfect. What's his address? Now! I don't hear you.
3700.
That's where the dog is. We'll cut an order. Take a marshal and go pick her up.
Thank you.
Next. Tell me about when the car got broken into. What was the date?
The car was broken into March 20th. The report was filed on March 21st.
Can I see the report?
There's two. There's a supplement and an original.
Whose cell phone was taken?
Mine.
Was there an alarm system on this car?
Yes.
Had you turned the alarm on?
Yes.
And the car was locked?
No, the locks, when I was issued the vehicle from him, there was no seat belts, nor did the locks on the doors work.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, did you pay for the use of the car?
Yes,
the 2
ma'am,
months
I
that
did.
you had the car, is that right?
She paid for
February.
and she used it for a total of 3 months. The first time she used it, she took it to her boyfriend's house, and I told her I didn't want my vehicle there at his house because it was way out there in case something happened, like the breaking in issue. It would be a lot harder for us to deal with. I had to go basically steal my car back because she was in Reno again with him, drunk, and brought it back to my home. Her mother called me from Vegas, begging, pleading to let me just use it so that she could finish school, which I'd help her get into, to go to school and to work, which I helped her get a job at. So after about an hour on the phone with my aunt, I finally agreed to let her use the car just to go to work and school.
Fine. Who do you think should be responsible for putting the car back in the same condition as when you took it?
Initially, when we sat down to make the agreement as far as me taking the car, he stated that if anything happened to the car, that's why there was insurance on the vehicle. So I would assume it would be the insurance. Being as it was in my possession, I do accept some form of liability as far as the belongings being taken.
Good. How much was the new stereo?
About 150.
Good. And the amp?
It's about 250, 300.
You have homeowner's insurance?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. File it with your homeowner's insurance. With regard to this is not her fault. She would pay for it unless you had homeowner's insurance, but you have homeowner's insurance, so put it through your homeowner's insurance. It covers the contents of your car. You know that. That's why you smiled before at me. But you go get your dog back. Now. Do you understand? Go buy yourself a new pet. I just saved you $200. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Melissa Kina says her daughter, Jamie Jaworski, owes for 2 unpaid loans. Jamie says her mother is conspiring with her ex-husband to ruin her life.
Miss Keenis, this is your daughter.
Yes, it is.
Does she have any siblings?
Yes, she does.
How many?
2, a brother and a sister. She's the oldest.
Is she a cute baby?
Gorgeous.
Is she a nice baby?
Yeah, very well-mannered.
Must have been, because you had 2 more.
Yeah.
Well, you're not getting along so much anymore, and it is your claim that your daughter owes you the balance of 2 loans. one loan that you made to her several years ago in order to permit her to open up a business. That loan was for $10,000, and she's paid back a substantial part of that loan.
That's correct.
Over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. You were opening a beauty salon, and you were able to do that through the loan from your mom.
Exactly.
The second loan was for $2,000, and that was more recently, and that was to permit her to get an attorney because she was going through a divorce.
Correct.
With regard to that $2,000, your daughter says there was never any discussion of a loan, that you were ecstatic that she was divorcing the husband, and you agreed to help her secure an attorney so that she could
That's not true, Your Honor.
so that she could successfully conclude the divorce process. So let's deal with the first loan. When was that, Ms. Jaworski?
It would have been in August because I bought the business. I took possession
August of what year?
03.
And it was for $10,000?
Yes.
Was there supposed to be interest paid on the loan?
No.
Well, tell me how you were going to make this loan with no interest.
I knew that she had money left over from my grandmother's estate.
Put your hand down. What do you mean left over?
Well, my grandmother didn't take care of things how you're supposed to, and so all of the money that was left out of her estate went to the state for her care. But there was somehow this money left over that the state didn't
How
know
much
about.
money?
I knew of $10,000.
Okay, go ahead.
And so I asked my mom if I could borrow that $10,000 from her because I knew it was in the bank sitting there, and so that there wouldn't be interest or anything on it because we already had the money.
Well, there would be interest on it. If she loaned you $10,000, then she's losing the interest on $10,000 for as long as it takes you to pay her back.
There was never any discussion of it.
But you do understand that.
I understand what you're saying, but in my mind, it wasn't that way.
I don't care
It
what was
just
in your
sitting
mind.
there.
What I'm telling you is, if your mother takes the money out of the bank, then she's losing interest on it, so there is a loss. I also don't understand why she should make this loan to you without interest when you have a brother and a sister. Why would she just let you have it all yourself?
Because it was just going to be a loan. It was going to be paid back.
In what period of time?
There was no set period of time. Because when you open a business, you never know. Most businesses fail in the first 5 years. And
Well,
so,
what happens if your business failed? You mean you weren't going to pay her back the money?
Well, no, I never intended not to pay her back the money.
But you just said most businesses fail within the first few years. What happens if your business failed?
Well, if my business failed, I would still have to pay her, but it was just to help me out. It was my mom helping me out. It was family helping family out.
But she didn't take that money out of the bank.
At the last minute, she had decided that she was going to pull it off of a credit card because she was nervous about the state finding out that she still had that money.
You mean she didn't think that they would find out about it if she kept it in the bank? Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going. I'm listening to the story. So she wanted to take it off of her credit card rather than take it out of the bank because she was afraid that the state would find out.
Well, she was worried that
Go
they
ahead.
would find out and then she wouldn't have the money sitting there.
Keep going.
No, that's really what happened.
Keep going.
And so at the last minute, she decided to pull it with zero interest. And either way, it wouldn't matter. There was
Zero
no
interest for how long? Forever?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You're in business. You don't have zero interest forever, maybe for a year or two, but not forever.
I never saw any of the credit card information. I have no idea, to tell you the truth.
Well, let's understand this. You knew at the time that you accepted this loan that it was coming off of a credit card. Is that right, Ms. Jaworski?
At the last minute, yes.
I don't care if it's the last minute or the last second. You always could say no.
I know, but I'd already given
Listen to me. You always could say no.
Mm-hmm. And then if I had...
Who cares what happens if you had? If you had, to go to work in somebody else's beauty parlor. Now, there was zero interest. And as a business person, you know that zero interest isn't forever. It's for a fixed period of time, which was for how long?
2 years.
That brings us up to 2005. As of August 2005, how much money did you give her?
I haven't split it out. These are just the statements that I have until then.
Well,
I didn't
Lisa,
add that up.
I don't do that. Math wasn't my strong suit.
Me either.
You either? Then you
No.
shouldn't be in business. But if you didn't pay her back in the 2-year period of time when there was zero interest on the credit card, you owe her whatever the interest is. End of discussion. Now, how much is on the credit card?
On the credit
Not with the $2,000 for the lawyer. I'm not dealing with that yet.
Well, it was all on one credit card, and the balance due on it when she stopped making the payment was $4,995.
Show me.
Ma'am, before you roll, can I say something else?
Well, this is not the last one. That's after I've made a payment, but
Can I see that bird, please?
I've made like the last 6 or 7 payments on it.
Now you wanted to say something, Ms. Jaworski.
I do, because the interest situation.
Mm-hmm.
She had said when we put it on that credit card that if the interest came due, that she would either take the money out of the estate and put it back on there. So I would never, the agreement was never any interest. It really wasn't.
Listen to me. You knew at the time she was taking out an interest-free loan for 2 years in order to cover this loan that she was making for you. You had 2 years to pay her back. You didn't. Then interest develops, and whether she takes the money out of the bank and loses interest, you still have to pay. Now tell me about the $2,000 for the lawyer.
When we were going through the divorce, or when Chris...
When was that?
That would have been in 2000, I believe, 5.
Now, by 2005, we were starting to get some interest on this loan.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay, well, so then we're going through our divorce, and I didn't have the money to retain a lawyer. At first, we were just going to do it ourselves. And I was telling her that he was going to try to get custody of the children from me, and that I needed to retain a lawyer. And what I don't understand is she hated...
Just don't tell me anything other than what happened. Not what you don't understand, not what you do understand. Not interested in what you understood. Tell me what happened. Now, you were crying to your mother that your ex-husband was going to try to get custody of the children, and you couldn't afford a lawyer. You didn't have any money.
Basically. And
Right.
she said not to worry about it, that she would take care of it. And she sent me 2 checks.
From where?
From her credit card.
And?
And she wasn't worried about me paying her back. I didn't know how I was going to end up financially after the divorce.
How did you end up financially after the divorce?
I ended up giving him basically everything. I got $20,000 equity out of the house, of which I gave her a check for $4,000.
You did give her a big check.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got $20,000 from the sale of the house, why didn't you pay her back everything that you owed her?
Because I was buying another house, and I was trying to have a little nest egg in case when you're employed by yourself, it's always good to have a little money back up.
Well, but if the only nest egg your mother had was the $10,000 she had of your grandmother's money, why should you have a nest egg and not her?
I don't know. I really thought about it that way.
But isn't that a nice way to think about it, Miss Jaworski? I mean, how old are you?
I'm 37.
And how old is your mother?
My mom must be 57.
Yesterday. So if somebody has to sort of struggle to put together a nest egg, isn't it easier for you, who's starting a new business, to put together a nest egg than your mother, who's 57? Especially since you spent the money. So it's real nice of you to want to have a nest egg all by yourself. But if what you're suggesting is that your mother said, well, if you don't pay the note back in the 2 years, that it's interest-free, you'll take the money out of your nest egg.
No, that wasn't the way it is. I think.
Well, that's what you just told me.
But
I'm just following what you told me.
I think you're misinterpreting it.
No, that's what you told me.
No, it's not.
Does that sound what you just told me?
Sounds like what she told you.
That she would take the money out of her nest egg and pay off the credit card and wait for you to finish putting your nest egg together so you would pay her. Duh.
If you have a business and you don't have operating capital and you don't have money to buy and bring things in and out, you can't run a business. And so that's what I used the other part of that money for. Was
That's not what you just told me.
It is. I had it.
No,
in a
that's
little,
not what you just told me.
I had it set aside so if something happened with
You
the business
just-
that I could keep it going.
That's your nest egg.
Well, I had to because if
You
I
owe your
lose,
mother
if I-
$4,000.
If I lose the shop,
You owe your mother $4,000. And I gather that the reason she's here is because you stopped paying her, according to your mother, because you had an estranged relationship for a while. Why, I don't know.
because she's seeing my ex-husband.
Well, that's what you say. That's what you say.
That's not true. I'm seeing my grandchildren.
That's
and her
what you say.
ex-husband.
I think that makes it very convenient for you, Ms. Jaworski,
I think-
because she wasn't seeing her grandchildren, and she wrote a letter, according to her, to her grandson when he was at his father's house, and his father called her and said, if you want to see the boys, you can see them, and she's been seeing them at your ex-husband's house, which ticked you off. So you stopped paying the loan. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000.
Thank you very
That's all.
much.
Jessica Lager says former friends Brent and Nick Boots vandalized her car by jumping on the hood and...
Thank you, Bert. Miss Lager, these two young men used to be friends of yours, and it is your claim that some time ago they vandalized your car while they were probably drunk, acting like fools. What's your last name?
Boots.
And yours?
Boots.
Are you brothers?
Yes, we are.
The Boots brothers.
Yep. Yeah.
You ought to make a movie out of it. Boots brothers. They say it wasn't them. When did this happen, Miss Lager?
On my 21st birthday, June 3rd, 2006.
And where was your car at the time?
It was at my boyfriend's mother's house, Danelle Foley's.
That would be you.
Yes.
Could you stand up? Because you weren't there.
Correct, I was not there.
When had you parked your car in front of your boyfriend's mother's house?
Well, I was letting her borrow it for quite some time because her vehicle was getting fixed at the time.
What kind of car did you have?
It's a 2001 Nabira Daewoo.
Could you keep your voice up? I'm old.
It was a 2001 Nabira Daewoo.
What is that?
It's a four-door silver
Nabira?
vehicle. Nabira.
Where is that made?
I believe Korea, but I'm not sure.
I never heard of it. I'm so pleased that you didn't. I'm sure it's a lovely car.
It was a lovely car.
Ms. Foley, do you remember June 3rd, 2006?
Yes.
I knew you were home on June 3rd,
Yes.
2006. Which one of the Boots boys is going to speak?
I will.
And what is your first name?
Brent.
And yours?
My name's Nick.
No, I think I want Nick to speak. Now, Nick, how far do you live from Miss Foley?
Only like 2 blocks.
You have any reason to be near Miss Foley's house?
I'm best friends with their kid.
Keep your voice up, Nick.
I'm best friends with their son,
What's her son's name?
Bart.
Is that person here today?
Nah, he's not.
Your younger brother?
Yeah, it was my younger brother.
How long have you been friends?
Since I was like 2.
Tell me about June 2006.
Well,
No. Don't look there. Don't look there.
Well, we were at her house and... Sorry. We were at her house, like, having a party or whatever, chilling. Just a get-together, I could
How many
say.
people were there?
Just like 4 of us.
Which 4? The 2 Boots boys?
Her. And then my girlfriend was there. And then her son was there.
There were 5 of you there. That would be 5. Let's count
Or
them.
other than me.
Nick, you want to count them? That would be 5 altogether, right? And when had you started chilling?
I'm not sure what time it was.
Around 9 or so, I'd say. 8 or 9.
And then what happened, Nick?
We were just drinking and whatnot, and then we left.
Drinking. What were you drinking?
Vodka,
Where did you get the vodka from?
I believe.
No! Don't speak unless I speak to you. I want Nick. Don't speak. Where did you get the vodka from?
I believe it was from her, because it was
From
her
who?
21st birthday. Jessica.
Was she home?
No.
Well, where did you get the vodka from?
We met up with them earlier on that day.
And she gave you a bottle of vodka?
Well, she purchased it for us. We gave her the money.
So you gave Miss Lager the cash, and she went into a liquor store and purchased how much vodka?
A liter.
A liter. That's a big bottle, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty big.
And what were you mixing the liter with?
We were just taking shots and drinking pop.
Shots and pop.
Shots and pop, yes.
And then what happened?
Nothing. We all had fun, and then once the night was over, we all went home.
And didn't see Miss Lager's car? No. Miss Lager, did you purchase vodka for them?
No, I did not. No, I do not purchase vodka for underage minors.
Why do you think furry?
To make it look good for themselves.
Nah. They could have just said, they found it. So I believe that you purchased it for them.
It was my 21st birthday. Why would I purchase alcohol for them?
I have no idea, because they were with your boyfriend's little brother.
I wasn't even near them all day. I was with my mother all day.
Okay. Miss Foley, tell me what you saw on June 3rd with regard to the Boots boys and Miss Lager's car.
I was at home. My son Bartley came up late that night and said, Mother, Brent and Nick are out kicking in Jesse's car. You need to come out and make him stop. So I went down, I looked out the landing. Brent was on the hood of the car, the roof of the car.
Brent, why couldn't you let Nick go on the hood of the car?
So I went down 2 more flights of stairs. By the time I got out there, Brent was off of the car, standing by the passenger mirror. Nick was standing in front of the car trying to kick the headlight, and he had stated to me that he had kicked the headlight and it didn't break. And Brent said he kicked the mirror off, but it didn't come off all the way. And I asked him why they were doing that, and they were mad at Jessica, I guess, at the time. So
why were you mad at Jessica?
We were mad at Jessica, but...
Well, tell me why you were mad at her. I just want to know why you were mad at her.
Stole a digital camera from my ex-girlfriend out of our house.
Oh, then I don't believe that she bought you alcohol. There you go. See what happened? If you were mad at her, why would you give her money to buy you alcohol on the same day?
He was always around anyways.
Oh.
'Cause I used to be best friends with him over there, her boyfriend.
We all hung out every day.
Now, she's the mother of your really good friend, right?
Yes.
So you know her for a long time.
Most of my
You
life.
go to her house? Put your hand down. You go to her house?
Every day, practically.
She sometimes gives you a sandwich? You know?
I eat over there occasionally, I could say.
So you think there's any reason why she would lie about you?
No, I wouldn't see a reason why she would.
Why would she lie about her son's best friend, who she sees every day of his life, who she's very good to? Why would she lie about him?
I don't know.
Do you understand my problem here, Nick?
Yes, I do.
You know where I'm coming from?
Sort of, yeah.
Are you twins?
No.
Who's older?
I'm older.
What about your older brother here? Did he ever go over to Miss Foley's house?
Yep.
Eat at her house?
We didn't really know much people in the area, so we were there all the time.
And Miss Foley was always nice to you?
Most of the time, yes.
Can you think of any reason why she would tell such a horrendous lie about you vandalizing a car that she was driving? Huh?
Maybe because Jessica's going to give her some money for it or something.
No. Then you would have to say that she's a liar and a thief.
She is.
Miss Foley?
Oh, not Miss Foley, but Jessica.
I'm talking about Miss Foley.
No, she's not a thief.
Miss Foley is the one who identified you, not Miss Lager. You want to look at Miss Foley and tell her she's a liar?
On this
Nick!
minute, yes.
You want to look at Miss Foley and tell her she's a liar? You followed your brother.
Yeah.
No, say this. Miss Foley, you're a liar.
I wish she wouldn't lie, that's what.
Uh-huh. Evidently, you were a better friend than your older brother, because you couldn't say it. Now, when you do something wrong, you're supposed to fess up. Now, it's possible that you two morons don't remember, because you were drinking a liter of vodka, what you did on the night of June 3rd. That's possible. How old are you?
I'm 19.
And you?
21.
Can I see an estimate on fixing your car in the photographs, please? Are you still friendly with her younger son?
Not really.
Was he also involved? Well, you don't know. Was your youngest son involved in this?
He didn't. Nope.
Was he? Just a second.
No, he did not do anything to the car.
Did you want to say something?
I was going to say I thought you were talking about him, but I am friends with her youngest son, yes.
No, I asked if her youngest son did anything to this car.
No, he wasn't there. He was upstairs the whole time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Did you hear what he said? He said no, he wasn't there. He was upstairs all the time. You just let him go and go and go, and after a while they just, you know.
They'll sign off.
They just sign off on it, right?
It was in an accident. Yeah, her car was in an accident before that, and it was all dented, and she was trying to say that we did all that when it couldn't
How
possibly.
much did you do?
I didn't do nothing.
Well, yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did. Now, if you said to me, listen, we got a little drunk, and we acted stupid around the car, but a lot of this damage was done before.
This stuff happens all the time in our area.
What, that you jump on the hood of a car?
No. Vandalism.
I asked you a question. Your brother couldn't say it. If Miss Foley identified you two boys who were lifelong friends of one of her children, there would have to be a reason. Because when people identify someone who's caused damage to their property, they want the right people punished. They don't want the wrong people punished. They want the right people to pay for the damage. Now, if she had some axe to grind with you, I could understand it. But you've given me no motive for her to lie about it.
She wasn't even there. This is completely false and erroneous. And
yeah, no, you're erroneous.
No.
You're erroneous and irrelevant. Erroneous and irrelevant.
And the car's not even worth that much to be.
You're absolutely right. How much did you pay for the car?
Around $7,000.
Okay, well, I'm not going to give you $11,000 to fix it.
No, I don't.
No. You could go buy yourself a new car.
Car can't even drive down the road straight. You let go of the wheel and you'll
Listen,
be in
you
the
couldn't
ditch.
walk straight. That's not up to you, young man. That's not up to you. When you damage somebody's property, you take it as you take it. That's it. And when you act like a fool, that's why they don't let people drink until they're 21 years old, because even 21-year-olds are morons. 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds are double morons. They shouldn't even be allowed out of the house after 9 o'clock at night. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,500. Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Shauna Ross is suing her cousin, 21-year-old Pauline Ross, for the value of a state-issued check. Shauna claims Pauline kept money that was intended for her.
Miss Ross, the defendant is your cousin. According to what I've read in your complaint, she had had some trouble with Child Protective Services. And there came a time that you agreed to watch her children in exchange for a state check for watching her children.
Yes.
You watched the children. She got the state checks, 2 of them, according to you.
Yes.
She cashed them both and did not give you any money. Ms. Ross says that you only watched the children a little bit. Her boyfriend watched them more than you did. So she kept the money, and she's got some countersuit about you calling Child Protective Services and making some false allegations about her after all this went down. What's your first name?
Pauline.
Pauline, how many children do you have?
3.
You're expecting another one?
Yes.
How old are you?
21.
You have enough children, Pauline?
Yes.
Did anybody ever tell you that?
Yes.
Who else told you that?
Everybody.
So add my voice to the rest of the pack. You have enough children, there are other things to do in your spare time. How old are your children?
They're 1.
You have to think about this?
No, 1, 2, and 3.
And who's the father of your 1-year-old?
Dion.
And who's the father of your 2-year-old?
I don't know.
And who's the father of your 3-year-old?
Dion.
And who's the father of this one that you're going to have now?
His name is Nick.
And how long have you been with Nick?
9 months.
Shh. Now, when your cousin was watching your children, who was your boyfriend then? Dion or Nick?
Nick.
When did your cousin watch your children?
She started April the 2nd when I started my job.
What kind of job did you have?
Waitressing.
Now, who filed the papers for your cousin to get the state check?
We both did.
And when you filed the papers, you said you were working, correct?
Right.
And you were receiving welfare?
Yes.
So they said, well, maybe they can cut some of this welfare money by giving you money to pay a babysitter to get you back in the job force, which
Yes.
will hopefully keep you out of the baby-producing business. How much did you receive in checks? Because the checks came to you, right?
Right.
How much was the first check?
The first one was $768.
And what did you do with that check?
I moved into my house.
So you used the money for yourself?
Right.
And how much was the second check?
$384.
And that was a babysitting check?
Yes, it was.
Well, Miss Ross, you don't get paid for babysitting for your own children.
No.
And Nick doesn't get paid for babysitting for your children because he hadn't filled out the papers.
Right.
So who do you think was
her, but not her, because she wasn't watching the kids like she was supposed to. And then April 12th, I got laid off. They cut my hours due to complications of my pregnancy.
Yeah. So
But
how
she was
many
still
hours
in-
did you in fact work?
20 hours per week.
How many
After the
weeks
12th.
did you work?
3 weeks.
3
No,
weeks?
3 weeks full time, and then they took me off.
So were you telling me, what state do you come from?
Michigan.
The state of Michigan gave you $1,152 for 3 weeks worth of babysitting?
No, no. You're
Well,
not
you got the
understanding.
2 checks just for babysitting money.
Right, ma'am, she was calling in hours that she
But
wasn't watching the kids.
Just a second. I understand that, but you have to sign off on it.
I
Let
called
Miss
my-
Ross, Pauline,
Yes.
you have to sign off on it. This is yet just another scam. If you don't think that I understand that this was just another scam,
I have
do.
the paper saying that I called and said my hours were reduced. It's right here. From the caseworker.
Somebody had to sign off before you got the check, because the forms, she fills out the hours, but you have to sign off on it, that she did in fact work those hours. Isn't that the way it works in Michigan?
Yes.
Of course. Works that way all over. Otherwise, any babysitter could file and say, I worked 20 hours this week, unless the other person for whom she is allegedly working signs off on it. So if you people don't think that I understand that this is just another scam on the state, you're wrong. I got it. You worked 3 weeks and got checks for $1,152. You know what I'm doing with this case? I'm sending a tape of it to the state of Michigan so they can come after you and take the money out of your welfare money. This was a good scam that the 2 of you cousins cooked up together.
No.
Because there is no way that I believe.
I didn't say I got paid for 3 weeks. I was working full time for 3 weeks. I called the caseworker. Here's the paper, the document showing when I called to say that my hours were reduced to 20 hours per week. So therefore, she supposed to have cut down the maximum hours which she supposed to call in.
Miss Ross, you are not entitled to keep that check.
I know that.
Just a second. So why did you keep it?
Because she wasn't babysitting the whole time.
You don't get it. Why don't you just send the money back to them? You don't move into your apartment with it, madam. You don't take care of your expenses with it. That's not what the money is for. That's what welfare is for. That's what Dion is for.
Well, Dion don't help.
Well, that's your problem. That's not Michigan's problem. You can't keep this money. You get welfare. The fact that you don't like how much you get doesn't mean that you can scam the state out of another $1,100.
I didn't scam. I paid the person that was watching the kids.
Yeah, show me.
Nicholas,
show me. I want to see the person who was watching the kids.
Me and Nicholas spent the money together for it, and I paid Lakeisha.
Listen to me. Lakeisha wasn't authorized by the state to watch your children. Neither was Nick. And you don't get paid for watching your own children. Madam, if you think that I'm going to give you $1,152, you are out of your mind. What the state should do is, and I'm going to send them a copy of the tape, is go against her welfare checks to redeem $1,152. And then let them decide where the $1,152 is going to go. That's what the state of Michigan ought to do. So they have to get the money back, and then they're going to give it to you. Thank you very much. That's all. Goodbye.
James Herring says his ex-girlfriend's boyfriend, John Chavez, owes for a loan to bail him out of jail. John says it's James's fault. He was arrested in the first place.
Oh, that's interesting. Mr. Herring, you and Mr. Chavez share a girlfriend. Not at the same time.
No.
She was your girlfriend. Then she was Mr. Chavez's girlfriend. Then briefly she was your girlfriend. Now she's back with Mr. Chavez. And if my reading of these documents is correct, this would be the lovely Jennifer. And according to your complaint, despite the fact that you had not been together, according to you now, for a year and a half, you had some mail for her.
Yes, ma'am.
So you took her to her house.
Yes, Your Honor.
And when you got to her house, there was a confrontation with Mr. Chavez. And according to you, Mr. Chavez was arrested.
Yes, Your Honor.
You bailed him out of jail.
Yes, Your Honor.
Even though he assaulted you.
Yes, Your Honor.
On his promise to pay you back the bail money, which he has not done.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Chavez says you felt terribly guilty about what happened. You came, bailed him out of jail. There was never any promise to pay you back. All very peculiar. Mr. Herring, did you know Mr. Chavez before this incident?
I met him through Miss Jennifer Berger, but I have not known him prior to her relationship with him.
When did you and Miss Berger terminate your relationship?
January 2006, maybe somewhere in that area.
Is that right, Miss Berger?
No.
When was it?
It's over 2 years. I've been with Don for over 2 years. So.
No, don't look at him. Look at me.
I've been with Don for over 2 years, so it has to be.
Okay. You lived together?
Yes, we lived together at one time.
How long did you live together?
About 2.5 years.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Herring?
I'm a stockbroker, venture capitalist.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Chavez?
Hardwood floors.
What kind of work does the lovely Jennifer do?
She doesn't.
She doesn't do any kind of work.
Well, she doesn't have a job.
She's a full-time job.
Yes, very much so.
Now, you last lived together with Jennifer 2 years ago.
We still share a residence occasionally.
What does that mean, sir?
Basically, she still has a lot of her things at my house. However, she does see Mr. Chavez from time to time, and she goes over there and spends some time, and then for whatever reason, then she comes back and stays at my house. We've become very good, close friends, and so she always has a place to stay in the event that she needs a place.
But you said you didn't talk in 2 years. Stand up.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said we haven't been together for over 2 years.
No, you said you hadn't talked in 2 years.
I didn't say talked.
What?
I didn't say talked. Misunderstanding.
You said you haven't been together.
Right.
In 2 years.
But during the 2 years, I've been over the house. I'm mostly with John.
Mostly with your boyfriend. Now, you live together as a boyfriend and girlfriend?
It's been on and off-ish.
What is your legal residence?
With Jim.
Mr. Herring.
Yeah.
You are three of the weirdest people that I've come in contact with. It's very, very long time.
It gets weirder.
It's ridiculous.
The whole thing is ridiculous
Well,
unless there's
absolutely.
something that I'm not seeing here.
Absolutely ridiculous.
All right, miss, when did this incident happen? When you went over to take Jennifer, the lovely Jennifer, some mail, according to you, that had come to the house?
I don't know the exact date. You're on the 7th or the 6th of March.
Of what year?
Of this year.
Go ahead.
And then I bailed him out on the 10th of March.
Oh, what happened when you went over there?
Well, when I went over to give her her mail, I called her and let her know I was coming by. She had a driver's license. her registration to her car, etc. She'd been gone for about 4 or 5 days. So I went over and I knocked at his door, and she answered the door. She came out, and I gave her mail. I said, I'm going to be leaving. I don't want any confrontations with Mr. Chavez.
Why should you have any confrontation with him?
Because I've had him in the past.
Go ahead.
And so I started to walk away, and she came out and talked with me for a minute, and then he came out and got right in my face and started to assault me. And at that time, I turned around and I told him that I was going to call the police. I went out to my car and I called 911. The police came. They talked to me for a few minutes. Then they went down and talked to Mr. Chavez. And apparently the conversation was that they could decipher who started the fight, so to speak. They didn't press any charges against him or me. However, he did have a warrant out for him, an outstanding traffic warrant for $25,000 warrant.
$25,000 warrant for not registering his car?
No,
Unlikely.
I don't know what it was, ma'am. I think it was a headlight or something, but it was a $25,000.
You must have really ticked off a judge, Mr. Chavez.
So they arrested him.
I'm speaking.
Yes, so they arrested
I'm speaking.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chavez, you must have really ticked off a judge to put $25,000 bail on you for a broken headlight.
It was for no registration on the vehicle, driving with out of driver's license in possession, and no proof of insurance.
And when did you receive this violation?
2004. But I was working for a guy that owned a car lot, and I was driving one of his vehicles back to the lot and got pulled over. And I, from the understanding that his dealer plates were not currently...
What do his dealer plates have to do with you not having a driver's license?
Well, I just didn't have it in my possession.
Mr. Chavez, I've been in the justice system. How old are you?
I'm 42.
Not quite as long as you've been on this earth. But a $25,000 bail on what amounts to nothing more than driving without registration for the car doesn't sound kosher to me, Mr. Chavez. Do you understand what I mean?
Oh, no, I understand what you're saying, but it was because of his dealer plates that were on the vehicle, and the dealer plates were supposedly not up to current registration. So...
Yes. Oh. So they took him into custody.
Yes, ma'am.
And tell me how it came about that you went and bailed him out, Mr. Herring.
I just, for whatever reason, decided to go down to the L.A. County Jail to talk to him. I wanted to find out why he had such animosity towards me.
You mean you wanted to find out that question? I can tell you the answer to that question in a second. The lovely Jennifer.
Yes, well, yes, ma'am. But I wanted to find out for myself why there was just such anger and so on and so forth, because I did not have any anger towards Mr. Chavez at all. If Jennifer wanted to see John or be with him, I had no problem with it.
You may not, but he does.
Yeah, apparently. So I went in there and I talked with him, and he...
You live in Los Angeles, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. It's all very strange here. Go ahead.
So I was visiting with him, and he'd been in for 2 or 3 days at that point in time.
2 or 3 days on a traffic infraction.
He pleaded with me and begged with me. He even started to sob. He begged me to post bail for him because of his daughter. He also promised at that time that if I bailed him out, he would most definitely pay me back.
Go ahead, Mr. Chavez, let me hear.
Yeah, that's all untrue. You know, I'm not scared of saying that I cry, but I'm not going to be crying to him. All right, that's first off. Second off,
just tell me what happened.
When he came to visit me, he wanted to know why there was such animosity and what he could do to not have the animosity between us anymore. And I said, well, you don't want no animosity? Bail me out. He bailed me out, and that was it.
And when, for the first time, did he ask you for this money back?
Actually, he asked Jennifer to give me a letter, but she never gave it to me.
Why? Why didn't you give it?
I said I wouldn't. I didn't receive it from him.
Your Honor?
He asked me to give him some papers, but I didn't want to get involved. I said, this is between the two of you. You deal with it. I'm out of it. I wasn't going to serve. It was, I think, to serve him.
When was your next court date?
March 12th.
And what date did he bail you out? Do you recall?
No.
Do you recall, sir?
March 10th.
March 10th.
And you had already been there for 5 days.
Yes, ma'am.
Had you been in jail before, Mr. Chavez?
Yes, ma'am.
Same jail?
Yes, ma'am.
For how long?
30 days.
And did you do the 30 days?
Yes, ma'am.
So, doing 5 days must have been easy.
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Herring?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe he promised to pay you back. I believe him. I believe him when he says that you said to him, what can I do to make this right? And he said to you, bail me out, and you did. Because I don't understand why, if the lovely Miss Jennifer had gotten her license and a registration for her car, you drive a car? Huh?
License is suspended.
For what reason?
For driving on a suspended license.
Your license is suspended for driving on a suspended license.
DUIs. And DUIs. Combination of the two.
You people are all too confusing and I'm much too old.
Got
Mr.
3
Herring,
DUIs and
Mr.
4.
Herring, you can't have it both ways, sir. If Jennifer, and she's clearly with Mr. Chavez, I suggest that you cut all ties with her. I don't know what Miss Jennifer is doing for you that allows you to believe that someone who is living with somebody yet has an avenue to come back to live with you, you know, as sort of a safe haven. You're a safe house. This whole thing is very, very bizarre. And your visit to the jail is even more bizarre. Yeah. And the fact that you fronted money for his bail is even more bizarre. And I'm a very easygoing, you know, meat and potatoes Brooklyn girl. I don't get all this mishigas. Your case is dismissed, Mr. Herring.
Coach Kiev says her former live-in boyfriend, Jovial Monzon, owes for the return of property and for the cost to repair her home.
Ms. Kiev, how long did you and the defendant live together?
We lived with each other for over 5 years.
In your complaint, you say it was 6.
6 years, yes. That's when the trouble started.
And during the time that you were living together, were you working?
Yes, I was working.
Continuously?
Continuously.
And what about the defendant? Was he working?
No, he was always between jobs. He had over 5 jobs.
How long were you unemployed, Mr. Monson?
It was like a month.
But other than that, you were working?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did you arrange your finances?
In my paycheck, I pay the mortgages and bills.
And what about with his paycheck?
His paycheck, whenever he can help me, he'll give me some money.
It doesn't seem like a very, very appropriate financial arrangement. Did you have a joint bank account?
At one point, we did.
Oh, fine. So you had a joint bank account. And when you had a joint bank account, did you deposit your paychecks?
Yes, I did, but money was missing from the account. Plus, child support was pulling money from the account because he owed over $53,000 in arrear back payments, which I have evidence.
You don't have to show me. I got it. You picked him.
Right. Right. Bad apple.
Well, I would have figured that out if it's true within a year, not 6 years. You have no children together?
No.
Perfect. This is your complaint. You say that he trashed your house when he moved out, and you want him to fix up the house, that he also took all the property in the house. When he moved out, you want the return of value of your property. You also say that he has a car that was evidently in both your names. You don't necessarily want the car back, but you want your name off the title because you don't want to be responsible for the car anymore.
Correct.
Now, Mr. Monzon says that the car is just as much his as it is yours, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Who paid for it?
Apparently I did.
What do you mean apparently? What does that mean?
Because she said that I didn't make the house payment, so then my check only paid the Montero, so I guess the Montero's mine then.
I have...
I mean, that's what she told me. My check wasn't making the house payment. It was just paying the bills in the Montero. Hello, how did you make the house payment then?
Just a second. Did you take any property from the house, sir?
The property I took from the house...
No, the answer is either
yes, I did.
Or no. What property did you take from the house?
I took some furniture that I bought.
That you bought when?
When we were together.
From what money?
Is
not an answer.
Like August.
From the money August?
I mean, what'd you say about the furniture? I mean, you're confusing me, I'm sorry.
I want you to try to pay attention, not try to think ahead.
Okay.
It will be too taxing for you. I want you to think of what I'm saying just at the moment. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you get the money from that you used to purchase the furniture?
Oh, from my check, from my work, my job.
Okay. Did you deposit it in a bank account?
No, I gave her my check, and I had my own money.
You mean you had different money from the money that you earned from your work?
Since we were no longer together, as she claimed, I wasn't going to give her the rest of my check anymore.
I'm asking you about the furniture that you purchased, sir, that was in the house.
Yes, I purchased it.
Oh. See, this is not going to be easy. Listen, almost marrieds don't cut it in court, especially this one. Is not particularly interested in your almost married debt, your almost married joint property, your almost married bank accounts. You choose to get married, we've created an entire and an elaborate court system to deal with that. You choose to live together without benefit of marriage. There are certain things that you're going to fall short when the relationship terminates. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. So, you want the furniture or the car?
I'll take the car.
Perfect. Where's the title?
I had it registered already in my name, because that's what she wanted.
Fine, so it's out of her name now.
Yes, it is.
Is that what you want?
Yes, and also the F-150, his truck, my name is also on there too.
The F-150 is in my dad's name. It's no longer in the name.
Okay, listen to me. Where is all the furniture?
Some of it is gone because she abandoned the house and me, and I didn't know when she was going to come back or not. She left right
Where's the furniture?
It's gone.
Did it fly away, sir? Did the earth open up and take it?
Some of the furniture was still there.
Okay. Mr. Monzon, you're making my life very easy, sir. Very easy. Let me see pictures of the house, please.
Do you want to see the before or after?
I want to see both.
Okay.
And the property that he took from the house, give me an approximate value of this furniture that's gone.
The ones that I'm concerned about are my computer, armor, passport, necklace that I got from my mom, my late mother, and...
That's not furniture, madam. You're not talking furniture. I'm talking about furniture.
I didn't come here for furniture. I can't...
Oh, because you say in your complaint that he emptied out your house.
Yes, but what I'm concerned about is my computer, my passport...
Where's her computer?
The computer was bought for me. She bought that computer for me.
No, I have...
Just a second. It's not your computer. Do you understand? The computer is going back to her. You've got the car and the truck. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you get. That's what I'm giving you. Period. Everything else goes back to her, including the computer. Do you understand? Within 5 days, the computer goes back to her. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut an order to motor vehicles to transfer the titles to both the truck and the car back to her name. Do we understand each other, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what kind of an agreement you signed when you came here? That every decision that I made, you would abide by.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Within 5 days, the computer goes back to her in good condition. Because if it's not, I'm going to take your car away. Now do we understand each other, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Okay. Now I see the nice house. By the way, you have her passport, too?
No.
You're going to have to write away for another passport. All right, it's got a nice house. Can I see the after, please? Perfect. Oh, my goodness gracious me. Mr. Monzon, what were you so angry about, sir?
Well, I was angry at her, but I didn't take it out on the house. House don't hit back.
I understand from reading the complaint that there came a time when you weren't there. He changed the locks on the house. Did you change the locks on him?
Prior to November, I did.
Did you let him back in?
No, he kicked the door in.
And what did you do?
I called the police because
And the police told you that you couldn't lock him out?
No.
Okay. Did he come back into the house?
He came back into the house.
How?
He kicked the door into the house.
You already told me that he kicked the door once.
Right.
And the police were called.
Right.
What happened when the police were called?
They told me that you should have locked him up because he has every right to be here.
You shouldn't have. That's what I thought.
Because I was coming home from work, and I didn't know why I was being locked out anyways.
I would have locked you out a long time ago, but that's just me. Who made the holes in the wall, sir? I don't believe you.
Okay.
I don't believe you at all.
When I left the house, it was in good condition.
Not now. So either you did it or she destroyed her own house.
Your Honor, I was served some papers from one of her lawyers saying that they hear voices in the house. And, like, if they hear voices in the house and I'm at work, hello, what did that tell you? Somebody else is in the house. Call the police, I'm being robbed.
Mr. Monzon, you walked out of the house with probably the only two valuable things that were there, which were a car and a truck. Now you say one is in your father's name. How did it get in your father's name?
He was the one who bought me that truck, and they just put it in our name just to show him how much they cared about us, that they didn't want nothing to do with it.
He bought the truck for?
For me, but to put it in our name.
He put it in your name because you owed back child support, and they were going to take the truck if you put it in your name alone. Who are you kidding?
No, that wasn't the reason why.
Wasn't the reason why? But
No,
it was a very good reason. Is that smart of me to think of that?
Yeah, it is, but it wasn't.
Right. Right. I'm just going to cost you to clean up this mess.
I don't live there, so it's hard for me to get somebody to go and give an estimate. I've been working with my realtor, and she's been trying to get someone out there also, and we haven't.
Well, how do you expect me to figure it out?
It's a lot of damage. I have receipt from when I installed the carpet, brand new carpet, and the stove that he damaged. I have receipts of it.
In what year did you install that?
It was July '06 when I had the house on the market.
And was he living there in July of '06?
July '06, he actually went to rehab, drug rehab. He was
But
gone for a week.
you had been living with him. So if you put the new carpet in the house, madam, it's from monies that you had poured pooled together.
No, this is money from refinancing my house.
How much did you take out of the house?
I took out to pay off the car, which was $21,000 on the car, and
Which car?
The Montero.
You paid off the Montero?
I paid off the Montero. I have the refinancing paperwork. Shows the check distributed to Mitsubishi.
Can I see that, please? You paid off the car?
Yes, I did.
You want the car?
I do want the car back.
Oh, you want the car?
But he refused to give me back the car, so I said, if you want to keep the car, then take my name off the title because I don't want any responsibility. But if I can get my car back, I would love to have my car back because I paid for that.
She says she took out a home equity loan and refinanced the house for $21,000 and paid off the Montero. Is that true? I have paperwork here.
I guess so. I mean, like,
What year is the Montero?
2002.
How much was it?
$800 and something that apparently I was making the payments on.
So you can't pay for both the house and the car at the same time?
No, but apparently she said she was. It's her car and the house. Your Honor, the house, okay, the house, we bought the house together. I mean, like, I'm not even countersuing against that.
When was the house purchased?
It was purchased like 2 years ago, which my parents gave her $15,000 so she can purchase the house. We
I
could.
got you.
So,
Gotcha. And the house was put in her name?
No, she put it in her own name.
I said the house was put in her name.
Right. Why would you
Because
put
how
my
mu-
name in there?
Why? Because you owe $53,000 in back child support. That's why. And they would have taken your house. That's why it was put in her name. Same reason that the cars were put in other people's names other than yours. Have you paid your child support?
Yes, I pay it out of my paycheck. Comes
Oh,
out
because now they
every
take it
weekly.
out of your paycheck.
Yes, I pay
Good.
it.
Who are you living with now?
I'm between houses.
You're living in one of your cars?
No. I'm supposed to be leaving to go to Denver. Apparently, I had to come here first, take care of this.
Leaving for Denver for what?
To start anew, to get away from the plaintiff.
Where are your children?
My children are in California.
And where are you living now?
I'm living in Benicia right now.
In California?
Yes.
So you're moving hundreds of miles away from your children?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. I chose her over my kids. Stupid, huh? She gave me the choice.
Listen to me.
Yeah, I know.
Nobody makes you make that choice, sir.
You're right.
Nobody makes you make that choice.
Biggest one I made.
Okay. Now, he does not have your necklace. He does not have your passport. He has your computer, which he's going to use. Do you understand?
Yes.
The house is in your name.
Yes.
Did you get a deposit for $15,000 from his family for the house?
It was $12,000, yes.
So you did. Did you pay them back?
I did.
When?
I borrowed $12,000 for the first house that I bought. When I sold that house and made some money, I paid them back after I sold the first house.
What about a down payment on this house?
I bought it with $0 down.
With $0 down?
Yes. The money was to put in the bank to show that I can make the payment.
And where did you get that money from?
I borrowed it from my sister and from his mother.
From his mother?
Yes.
Did you give it back to her?
I did. Yes, I did.
Did she give it back to your mother?
I don't know.
You were there.
Okay, fine. Okay. You get your computer back, and I believe that you're entitled for money for the car because I believe that you made a substantial payment on the car. He's going to take your name off the title. He says he's already taken care of that. But I believe you when you say you took out a home equity line of credit, and from that you paid off the Montero, so I'm giving you a judgment for $5,000, unless you want to turn the car over to her. What's your pleasure?
I'll keep the car.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Stephanie Young says former live-in boyfriend Raymond LaChance owes for rent on their shared apartment. Raymond is countersuing for half of 1 year's living expenses.
I usually don't like to prejudge things, Mr. LaChance, but I think that you're not a very honorable person. According to the complaint that I read, sir, you and the plaintiff were involved in a relationship. You thought it was going to be a solid one. You signed a lease on an apartment, correct?
Correct.
And after 3 weeks, the thing didn't work out.
Correct.
And you agreed that she would leave, and you would stay in the apartment.
I was staying in the apartment, yes.
And when you were staying in the apartment, according to the plaintiff, you were staying with someone whose name was?
Jacob Canal.
You were staying with someone whose name was Jacob. And when she left, according to her, Jacob was paying her half of the rent so that you weren't out any additional money. Then, according to the plaintiff, you told her you were moving out of the apartment. So far correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And she didn't want to ruin her credit, so she paid the rent, right?
Yes, ma'am.
When she goes to the apartment to get something, she sees all your stuff there because you had moved back in. But you let her pay the rest of the rent, believing that he was out of the apartment.
Yes, ma'am.
Your excuse is that you were forced to pay the rent yourself for 7 months because of her. and therefore you decided that she should pay the rest of the rent.
Her name's on that lease. She's just as liable as I am.
Mr. LaChance, in what month did you sign the lease?
We signed that in May of 2006.
And she left in May of 2006.
She left June 2nd, 2006.
6/2. Did she pay May's rent?
Actually, I paid it.
You mean you paid it alone?
I paid it alone, yes.
Why is that?
I had recently come into some money at about the end of April playing online poker. It's what we used to move out here. It covered all our moving trucks.
So you paid the May rent?
Correct.
Okay. Now, when did Jacob move in?
Jacob was with us from the beginning.
And how much was the rent in the apartment?
$569 a month.
And how much was Jacob paying?
He was not paying for any of the rent.
And how long did you let him stay?
He stayed until November.
So you're telling me you did not try to find another roommate between June and November because you were letting Jacob stay there rent-free?
Correct.
Now I'm going to respond to your statement.
Okay.
The reason you had to pay the rent is because your behind was sleeping in the apartment. Hers was not. And you had a roommate who should have been paying half the rent.
From July till November, he was never home. It was predominantly a storage space for his stuff. I helped him out every now and then.
Then
He was
it's your
never,
responsibility, sir, to find another roommate.
I was unable to find another roommate.
Show me what efforts you made to find another roommate.
I had friends at work.
Now let's go a little further, Mr. LaChance.
I don't
when
have
did you?
anybody
I'm
in
speaking
town.
to you. When did you call Miss Young and tell her that you were moving out of the apartment?
I was finally able to get a hold of her. It would have been end of November.
And you told her you were moving out in December?
Yes, ma'am.
And had you paid November's rent?
At that point,
It's not an answer, sir. Did you pay November's rent?
November was paid, yes.
Fine. And you moved out in December?
Yes, ma'am.
And you paid December's rent?
Yes, ma'am. It was actually a lot more. Okay.
So you called her and let her know that you were moving out in December, and if she wanted to keep her credit, she better start paying the rent.
Yes, ma'am.
When did you move back to the apartment, Mr. LaChance?
I moved back in January of 2007.
So you were out of the apartment for 1 month.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you call and tell her you moved back?
I was unable to get a hold of her.
Did you call and
I
tell
called.
her you moved back into the apartment?
I called, yes.
So that I assume you paid January's rent.
I did not pay January's rent.
I assume you paid February's rent.
I did not pay February's
That's why I told you when we started this case that I thought your behavior was abominable because it was dishonest, totally dishonest. Moving out is one thing. Saying, listen, I'm moving out of the apartment. Your name's on the lease, my name's on the lease. I lived here for the last few months, so I paid the rent. But now I'm moving out, just like you moved out. So I think if we want to both keep our credits intact, maybe you don't need it, because if you make a living doing online poker, maybe you don't need your credit intact. She does. So maybe we should just join forces, pay this lease out, whatever. But that's not what you did. You were able to contact her when you wanted to move out. But when you moved back and knew that she was going to be paying the rent and you were going to be living there rent-free, then you couldn't contact her. That's not very nice, sir. Now, when did you find out he was still living there?
I had the locks changed March 26th, and he called me.
So you paid December, January, February, and March?
Yes, ma'am. I also paid April.
And April. When did you go and check the apartment?
Well, I moved back to Florida, and the apartment's in Texas, so I couldn't just go there. And I said, I want to have the locks changed because I believe someone's still living there.
What made you think someone was still living there?
Because once he stopped paying the electric bill, it went back into the apartment's name. So they were getting the bill, and she was sending it to me. So if there's electric, someone's living there. So I said, I would like to have the locks changed. I paid the $25, and I got a call from Raymond that night saying,
I'm an authorized tenant in that place. There was no reason to have me
Mr.
locked out.
LaChance, don't you understand? You did something that was amoral, dishonest, dishonest. Don't you get it?
To me, dishonest was leaving 3 weeks into the lease.
No, Mr.
She committed
LaChance,
herself
that's
on you.
ridiculous, sir. You weren't getting along. I don't even care why you weren't getting along. You were dishonest. You said, I'm moving out, and then you moved back without telling her. And the only time you contacted her again, and you were able to contact her again, you said, I couldn't call and tell her I was moving back because I couldn't contact her. So you were able to call her when you were moving out, and you were able to call her after she changed the locks. But you couldn't call her that critical time to tell her you were moving back into the apartment. She didn't have to pay the rent anymore.
I had left voicemails. I had sent
Listen to
messages.
me. Dishonest. What kind of work do you do?
I'm a waiter at a restaurant.
What else do you do?
I play online poker.
So you owe her for rent for 5 months. You also owe for the electricity while you were there. How much?
It was $2,100.
Now, it's my understanding from your complaint that you have a witness who was able to testify that for the first few months after you left, the rent was paid.
Yes, ma'am.
Call the witness.
I would like Jacob Knudsen to come out.
You swear to tell the truth in these matters?
Yes, sir.
State your name for the record, please.
Jacob Knudsen.
Okay. Do you live in the apartment with Mr. LaChance from June until December?
I left early November, but yes, June is correct.
When you were there in June, July, August, September, and October, those 5 months, did you contribute to the rent?
Most of the time. The only month that I was not able to contribute to my full share of the rent was the beginning of October, due to the fact that I lost my job.
I don't care why you didn't contribute in the month of October. You didn't contribute in the month of October. Yes. You paid rent in June?
Yes.
How much?
$285.
And you gave that to him in check or cash?
Cash.
That was June. What about July?
Yes.
You paid him in July?
Yes.
August?
Yes.
The full amount, to either
$285, yes.
What about September?
September, yes.
But not October?
No.
And what happened in November?
November, I was still out of work, and I contacted my mother and borrowed $400 from her in order to pay my half at the beginning of November. I have a Western Union voucher right here.
Can I see it, please?
Yes. The Western Union voucher that states that I got $400 from my mother in order to pay my half of the bills.
So if Mr. LaChance said that you were there and you stayed there sporadically...
I was not home very much, yes.
And that you did not pay any rent to him at all, would that be the truth or a lie, sir?
A lie.
And you were his friend?
Yes.
Who do you know longer?
I know them both about the same amount of time.
But you stayed with him?
Yes.
When she left?
Yes, in order to help him with the bills.
Perfect. Good. Anything else you want to say to me? Anybody? Perfect. You owe her $2,100, Mr. LaChance, because you're a dishonest person. Because you're a dishonest person, I'm dismissing your counterclaim for half of the expenses for the time that it is clear that you had help with the rent, because that's what your counterclaim was mainly about. You will always come into contact with people, Mr. LaChance, in this life that are smarter than you are. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Goodbye.
26-year-old Noah Riskin is suing his ex-girlfriend, 22-year-old Lindsay Robinson, for her share of a backpacking trip through Europe. Lindsay claims the trip was a gift.
Mr. Riskin, Miss Robinson used to be your girlfriend.
Correct.
And it is your claim that you took a backpacking trip to Europe.
Yes.
And you advanced some money for Miss Robinson, who was supposed to pay you back.
Correct.
Miss Robinson says the trip was a treat, your treat, and there was never any discussion about paying you back for the trip. And she is counterclaiming, she alleges you have some property of hers, a baby book, and she wants some punitive damages because she says you are stalking her. How long were you a couple?
For 7 months.
From when to when?
From mid-June, I believe it was, up until Valentine's Day.
And when was the trip?
We left on January 20th, returned February 19th.
So you were really a couple from June until January, because when I understand from reading your papers that when you took this trip, you each went your own way for a good part of the trip. You traveled independently. It wasn't a romantic getaway for the two of you, right?
Correct.
You didn't live together, did you?
We did.
You were living together?
Yes.
You had enough of each other from June to January. You wanted to be a little separated?
My intention of going to England and Scotland was to backpack, to go as many places as I could. Lindsay told me that she wanted to get a feel for life out there and stay in York for a week or two.
Wonderful. Terrific. How come you advanced the money?
Lindsay came up to me after the tickets were purchased, said that she had talked to some friends of her back home, and they told her that she needed roughly $1,000 per week, conversion rate being about 51 cents per pound. I'm sorry, $1 per 51 pence.
Please, let's move on.
She did not have that money. I offered a loan.
I asked you what was said. Don't say I said to her, I will give you a loan. I want to hear what was said by her and what was said by you. Do you understand? And if it doesn't sound right, it's usually not true, Mr. Riskin. You get it?
I did.
Good.
So I went ahead and loaned her the $2,500.
Okay, Miss Robinson, since he can't get it together, I want you to tell me how it came about that you, A, took money from him for the tickets, and B, took money from him for spending. I think it was $2,500.
Yes.
Tell me how it came about.
He told me he was going. I told him I couldn't go with him. He asked me to go. I said
I want you to keep your voice up and speak slowly so that I can hear you.
Okay. He said he was going to Europe on a backpacking trip. I said, I can't go with you. I was going to use the month to move out anyway. He said, go with me, go with me.
You were going to use the what? I don't hear you. I want you to tell me how it came about that you took money from him for the tickets and took money from him for spending.
The month that he was going, I said I'm going to move out and see where it goes from there. So
Look at me.
I told him to let me know when he bought the tickets and I would make a decision because he kept asking and asking. So when I called him, he said he bought 2 tickets. I'd said no and he bought the ticket anyway. As far as money goes, I told him, well, I still don't have the money to go, and he offered to give me money for that too. We went to the bank together. He deposited it into my account.
What's wrong with you?
I listened to him, I guess.
No, you didn't listen to him, I guess. If you were not happy with him and if you were moving out, why did you take all that money from him?
Because
why?
Because I thought he was doing a nice thing. He told me it was going to be a gift, and I believed him. And he told me he didn't want the money
That's not
back.
my question to you. I'm talking about being a moral person. Let's say I believe you, which I'm not sure I do. Let's say I believe you. Why would you, since you knew that he was anxious for you to go, since you knew that he was anxious for you, perhaps not to break up this relationship that you had had for 7 months, why would you, knowing what you knew, take money from him? Because as soon as you came back, you broke up, right? Right?
Before we got back, we broke up.
Well, before, but you already got yourself there on his ticket, and you already had $2,500 of his money.
Yeah.
Well, that's wrong.
I know. I know. I thought it was something that it wasn't, and I should have listened to my gut. I thought we had an understanding, and we didn't.
What kind of understanding?
We discussed it before, and we had the understanding that it wasn't going to be romantic, that we were both going to go our separate ways, and that it was a gift. Because I told him I couldn't go over and over, and he insisted that he wanted to do something nice for me. He called my dad and told him about it. He told my best friends about it. Knowing that we would break up, he told them that. And so I thought we had an understanding.
I want to tell you something. If it doesn't make sense, it's usually not true. What nice thing had you done for him?
I don't know. I was with him. I mean...
Well, he was with you. You mean that's a gift that you were with him?
We just had...
What kind of spectacular thing do you have that other people don't have?
Nothing.
Huh?
Nothing.
Nothing. I didn't think so. I mean, what do you bring to the table that millions of other people don't bring? Why in the world would you think that he would invest a whole bunch of money in taking you away if he didn't think that by doing that, perhaps you could rekindle your relationship?
That's what he did think. I know it is.
Then you did the wrong thing by taking it, knowing that it wasn't going to work.
I didn't... Okay.
How much was the ticket?
The ticket was $531.
And how much cash did you give her?
$2,500.
Okay. Forget the incidentals. You're lucky we're going where we're going. Do you understand? I'm going to hear your counterclaim. And I must tell you, Miss Robb, other things to do today. You want your baby book back?
I want my... Yes.
Why did you take her baby book?
The baby book was actually left. When she had moved out, she left everything that she did not want. A number of magazines, old shoes, etc. that she did not want. She just left them for me to clean up. I found them, and I did notify her that I had these items. She has not made any effort to pick them up for me, to send anyone to pick them up. I still have them.
What are they?
A baby book and a childhood photo album that I saved from the trash pile.
Why did you leave them?
That's not true. First of all, I got home and all my stuff was on the porch the same night we got back. He locked me out so that I couldn't get in and took my key. Everything that was on the porch, I took. Everything that wasn't mine, like the magazines, I left there, yeah, because he threw it all on the porch. So
on what date?
That would be the 19th, the night of the 19th, the night we got back.
What else?
He basically, after the breakup, I don't know what happened, but he became very different. He would show up at my work at least twice a week. And
yes? And what?
And just hover around. He would pull friends out of work and tell them about everything that happened between us. And
oh, get over it. You owe him $3,031. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Victoria Nunez says former friend Philip Mitchell owes for breaking an apartment lease. Philip says he's being made to look like the bad guy.
Please. Miss Nunez, Mr. Mitchell is your boyfriend's brother. I don't know if he's still your boyfriend.
No.
Okay, but you and the boyfriend had an apartment. You decided to relocate. Mr. Mitchell was looking for a place to live. He didn't have very good credit. He has a wife?
Girlfriend.
And children?
One son.
With the girlfriend?
Mm-hmm.
Not married? Any particular reason why, sir?
Just hasn't happened yet.
Didn't think about it?
We've thought about it, but
Not ready to make that sort of a commitment.
not really that. Just haven't done it yet.
Anyway, they needed a place to live. And you thought it might be a nice idea if you let them move into your apartment. They moved into your apartment. Your name, however, remained on the lease. It is your claim that after they moved out, because of things that they did, you were required to pay the landlord a certain amount of money. Mr. Mitchell says that it's your fault, all of these things, so you pay. When did you move into the apartment?
I initially signed the lease in November of 2005.
And when did you move out of the apartment?
In April of 2006.
Was it a one-year lease?
It was a one-year lease, yes.
So he had until October of 06. Is that right?
Well, November. Technically, the lease ended November 30th of 2006.
When did you move into the apartment, Mr. Mitchell?
In April of 2006.
And what was the rent?
Was $800 a month plus utilities.
And you were diligent in paying your rent each and every month?
Yep.
When did you move out?
We moved out the end of November.
Did you pay November's rent?
Yes.
What rent does he owe?
Well, because they didn't give us 60 days notice to the apartment complex, then they were required to pay an additional month's worth of rent.
Was that in the lease?
Yes, it was stated in the lease.
Did you give him the lease?
I did give him the lease, and I have a copy here showing that he initialed when he signed on to the lease, showing that he did see that in fact...
I'd like to see it.
Okay. And I have a copy of his application to be signed onto the lease, and his initials next to where it says 60 days must be given to move out of the apartment.
Okay. So it is clear that you both understood that you had to give 60 days notice.
Yes.
And your name remained on the lease.
Yes.
And it is Mr. Mitchell's position is that he gave the landlord 60 days written notice. So now, Mr. Mitchell, will you show me your written 60-day notice to the landlord?
Yeah, I gave 30 days notice, and I was going to work with them to pay off the last month's rent, but I do have a copy of that.
Well, so you didn't give 60-day notice?
No, not 60. I gave a 30-day notice.
But you had to give them 60 days notice.
And I had talked to them about that I didn't have 60 days, and they said that they would work with me on paying off the rest of the money.
First of all, you can't modify a written contract by an oral agreement. A written contract can only be modified by a written contract, sir. So you did not give them 60 days notice, and you were living there.
No, I did not.
So you owe the month's rent.
Well,
am I missing something?
I went into the leasing office and I said that I don't have 60 days, and they said, how long do you have? And I said, I can give you 30 days.
That's hearsay, sir. That's hearsay.
Okay.
So you owe the month's rent, and how much is a month's rent?
It was $800 plus an extra $150 for being outside of the lease.
Is that what you had to pay?
Well, I have it listed as $850, which is
perfect. So you see, $850. And what about the utilities?
The utilities that they owed were $500 at the move out. About that here.
Did you owe any utilities when you moved out, sir?
Not that they had told me. I had been paying the utilities every single month.
Well, take a look at the utilities. How much does it say the utilities were when you moved out?
But part of this in here is the rent, too, like late rent. So it wasn't a total of the $500 for just the utilities.
Well, were you late in your rent?
No. Well, except for that last month, yes.
So the last month wouldn't account for $500, sir.
Yeah, and I don't understand how it's listed
I
here.
don't either. What is it?
There's a breakdown of everything. It's a gas reimbursement, late fees, rent, trash reimbursement, utility charges, water, sewer reimbursement, and the total for all of those combined.
Do you see that, Mr. Mitchell?
Yes.
So is that what you owed?
Yes.
Is my question. Wouldn't that have been easier for you to say immediately?
Yeah.
What was that amount?
The amount is about $500. I just rounded up, Judge. It was $495. So
don't round it out.
Okay.
I have a machine here. It helps me. So far, we have $1,345. Now, what about the cleaning fees for the apartment?
The cleaning fees are listed here as well. There's different damages, cleaning, trash out, rent through the 60 days.
You already told me about trash. How much trash was there?
Apparently there was a lot because they're getting charged again for it.
Just a second. Mr. Mitchell, did you and your girlfriend do a walkthrough with the landlord when you left?
Not with the landlord, no.
With whom?
We didn't do it with anyone. We cleaned the apartment out. There was some trash, but it's listed here. It's only $5 worth of taking trash out. And so there were a few bags
Why
of
didn't
trash.
you walk through the apartment with either the manager or the landlord?
They didn't tell me that I had to do that.
Did you take photographs when you left?
Mm-mm.
Well, why should she have to deal with any of this stuff?
They also had to replace the carpets, and the carpets were damaged when we moved in. And I asked Vicky if the deposit that she left would cover the carpets, and she said yes. And she had like 8-month-old Great Dane puppy living in the apartments that completely trashed the carpets.
Is that right?
I take responsibility for the carpets. However, Judge, the carpet cleaning fee was only $50.
You said that they had to replace all the carpets.
I have the invoice of them having to replace the carpets.
You mean they had cleaned it before they replaced it? They're very neat people. What date did you move out?
November 30th.
This was in January of 2007.
That's when they replaced the carpets. That was the invoice from the carpet company that they gave the apartments.
No. Where did you get this from?
The apartments. I went into the leasing office and talked to her about what I needed, and she said that this showed that they had completely replaced the carpets.
But you weren't charged for that.
No.
No. So
I don't have a copy of any of that.
No, she doesn't have a copy of that. Yes, you can take this and you can give it back to this lady. I don't know what she was hoping to get from that. So far, you owe $1,345. What were the rest of the fees?
They didn't return the key cards, and there's other damages here to different things in the apartment complex.
Did you return the key cards?
No, I do take responsibility for that.
Listen, Mr. Mitchell, sounds to me like you have to grow up a little bit. Mr. Mitchell, you didn't do all the things you were supposed to do. You didn't give 60 days notice. You didn't finish cleaning up the apartment.
I did clean the apartment.
No, you said to me you left some trash there. And there were some things. Did you have a young child in the apartment?
Yes.
So there was some damage in the apartment that I'm sure is ascribed to you and not her 8-month-old Great Bear statement?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So there are a lot of things that you didn't do. She shouldn't have to be responsible for that. And she lost a $150 deposit. She's not even asking you for that, which she should have gotten back. Can I see that paperwork, please? Anything else you want to tell me, Mr. Mitchell?
Just that when
Before
I had spoken...
pronounce sentence upon you.
I had spoken to the leasing office about the notice, and they had said, since it's not 60 days, we can...
Listen to me. That's hearsay.
I have a copy of when I said I was going to move out, signed by the apartments.
Does it say signed and approved, no penalty?
No.
Fine. Okay. Now, I want to see your check.
Okay. The check is from my older sister's account, and it's right here, and there's a payment of receipt.
I'd like to see it,
And also the statement from the account being paid.
When did they contact you?
They contacted me on April 10th, so 4 months after they had moved out and I thought everything was taken care of, I found out that I had 2 days to come up with approximately $2,000. And if I didn't pay it, they threatened that they were going to take us to court, there were going to be more fees added, and I didn't want to ruin my credit because I have really good credit. I've always paid everything on time.
Gotcha. Okay. Where did you move to, Mr. Mitchell?
My aunt had a house that she rented to us.
So why couldn't you give them 60 days notice?
Because we needed to move into that house to get it. Because we needed a bigger house. We needed something with more rooms.
I understand what you're saying, Mr. Mitchell. You said I couldn't give them 60 days notice, which means that you were going to the military, somebody was having surgery, but you go into your aunt's house, so you move in a month later to your aunt's house.
We couldn't afford the last month's rent as well. And that's what I had told the lease officer.
You're fast talking, babe. You're a fast talker. Fast talker. Fortunately for me, I'm a faster thinker. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,865.01. That's all. Out. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Allison Gardner claims former friend Andrew Beard repossessed a truck he sold her. She is suing for the return of payments made and for the cost of a dirt bike he sold without her permission.
Miss Gardner, it is my understanding, and this is some sort of convoluted arrangement for the purchase of a truck. You purchased a truck from Mr. Beard. You claim that he took the truck back. You want all the payments that you made to him on the truck. You say he took a dirt bike that belonged to, I think, your son.
Correct.
And he sold it. You want the money for the dirt bike. Mr. Beard has a whole different scenario about what happened with this truck and dirt bike. So let me make it simple for myself. You knew each other. You were friends?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's all I have to know. I don't need to go into the social history. I'm really not interested. You had a truck.
Yes, ma'am.
What was the year and make of the truck?
It was a 1992 Ford F-150 stick shift single cab pickup truck.
Okay. And you were in need of a vehicle. So you agreed to purchase the truck from Mr. Beard. When?
We made an agreement, I think it was around September or August.
What was the date?
It was August 12th. It was the same day I bought my new green truck.
Does that sound right?
That's not correct. It was before he bought his truck.
It was before you bought his truck?
Yeah, we were actually at
Just a second.
gathering.
How much before he bought the truck?
I think it's about a week or two.
Fine. And you gave him how much down?
It was $500.
So far, we agree on that?
No, ma'am.
How much did she give
She
you?
actually gave me nothing when I gave her the truck originally.
No, I have a copy of it. I have 2 canceled
But she
checks
did,
here.
in fact, give you money.
She did, yes.
How much did she give you at first?
At first, $500 check.
And when was that?
I received both checks of $500 increments by November 16th.
And did she have the truck prior to that?
Yes, ma'am.
When did she take possession of the truck?
Actually, a couple days after my original date, August 12th, that I gave her the truck.
So according to her, it was the beginning of August. So you got possession. Listen to me, Miss Gardner. You got possession of the truck the beginning of August.
I have a check dated 8/14 of 06 for $500.
Fine. He says that you got possession of the truck before you gave him the check.
I'm not sure of the exact date, but that's probably close.
Fine. So let's say August 1st, you got possession of the truck. August 14th, you gave him $1,000.
I gave him $500 on 8/14 of 06 and another $500 on 10/13 06.
When were you supposed to give him the money?
We did not have a specific agreement. He said that I could pay him on it as I was able to.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, that is.
Okay, so he was a nice guy. August, you gave him a check for $500. October, you gave him another check for $500, leaving a balance of?
It was about $1,100. I'd also given him $100 cash, $100 cash.
Forget about the cash.
Yeah.
So you
it'd
gave
be
him $1,000, leaving a balance of?
It'd be $1,400.
$1,500. Don't play with
Not
me.
including the $100 that I gave him.
Not including the $100.
Right.
Right. In cash. You give him checks and then you give him cash?
Yep.
So you owed him $1,500. And you've already had the truck 4 months.
Yep.
Well, when were we supposed to complete the payments on this truck?
We had actually come up with the money, and we called him. My fiance Robin called him and said, "We have the rest of the money for the truck. Would you like us to go ahead and bring it to you?"
When
And
was this?
This was later, after we found out that I'd asked him. I said, "Can I sell the truck to someone else? It's not working out for me." And he said, "Fine, no problem."
Just a second. Starting November, you've made no further payments. When did you call him and tell him you wanted to sell the truck?
It was approximately February 15th is when we called to offer him the rest of the money, so it had been about 2 weeks before that, so about February 1st.
So if you had the truck August, September, October, November, December, and January, 6 months.
Correct. I was also
Just a second.
making repairs on it.
I don't care whether you were making it. You were using it. Who was supposed to make repairs on it, Bird? You bought a truck that's 15 years old. 15 years old.
Yeah.
And you bought it for $2,500. You've had the truck now 6 months. You've paid less than half on it. And now, according to you, you call him up sometime in February.
Yeah.
And say to him, truck's not working out for me. Is that what you just said? I want to sell it. So, before you can sell something, you have to pay for it.
Well, I asked him, I said, I need to sell the truck. Is it okay if I go ahead and sell it to someone else and I'll give you the money that I owe you? He said, no problem, that's absolutely fire. And he had a friend of his that was also interested in the truck. So he came to my home and picked up the truck to show his friend.
When did he come to your home to... Shh, just a second. Yeah. When did he come to your home to pick up the truck?
It would have been sometime around between February 1st and February 15th, that 2-week period.
Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
So after that, he picked up the truck, took it to his home, and he said that he had a buyer for it, and no problem, I'll give you the $1,100 that you paid me on it, no big deal. During that time, he had offered to pick up my son Zachary's dirt bike from the shop that I had taken it to. It was probably going to run me about $600 or $700 to get it fixed, and Andrew was very mechanically inclined and said, hey, let me pick it up, I'll take it to the house, fix it for Zachy, no problem. So that's what happened with the truck. So he fixed it, and I was calling him saying, hey, I need to get the bike back for Zach and this and that. No return phone calls, text messaging, no return text messages, nothing. So on February 15th, he had possession of the truck. We called him and said, we have the rest of the money. Let's go ahead and we'll give you the money for the truck and just be done with it. You'll
have a chance in a minute. Stop raising your hand. It's annoying and it's distracting. Go ahead.
I said, we'll just give you the rest of the money for the truck. Let's just get it done, And then after that, it was February 25th. I called and I talked to him I sent him a text message and phoned him saying, I'm coming by to get Zachary's dirt bike. And at that time, he sent me a text message saying that he sold it, which I don't know how he could sell a dirt bike that he didn't have the title to without it being a legal transaction. So the bike at no point in time was ever collateral for that truck. He was doing me a favor. Actually, he's doing Zachary a favor in fixing the dirt bike. We never had an agreement that it was collateral.
So what do you want?
I want the money that I gave him for the $1,100 for the truck, and I want the money for the dirt bike to replace the dirt bike for my kid.
Well, so that means that you used his truck for 7 months. You used it, you put mileage on it, you did whatever you had to do. You used his truck for nothing?
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't, the truck is, it would be nice to get that money back. I want to replace my son's dirt bike.
Just a second. Well, I'm trying to understand, madam. You purchased something, you didn't finish paying for it, you used it for 7-8 months, and now you want the money back that you gave him, which was less than half of the amount of the truck. I mean, let's break it down.
The reason I'm asking for that is because he said, hey, no problem, when I sell the truck or you sell the truck, when you find a buyer for it, I'll give you the money back. No big deal.
You know, I'm going to listen to him, but you know why I question what you say to me?
Why?
Because you told me that on February 1st, you called him and you said, truck's not working out, right? And you said, I had the money because February 15th, you called and said to him, listen, let me come by and give you the money for the truck.
I actually didn't have the balance of the money until February 15th.
How were you getting the balance of the money?
My fiance, Robin.
Yes. Your fiance, Robin, was what?
Giving me the money.
Well, why didn't he give you the money February 1st? Why didn't you say to him, let me come by and pick up the truck, and say to him, no, I'm going to have the balance of the money in 2 weeks, and then I'm going to sell the truck.
Well, I know that Robin had tried to call several times and offer that, and I wasn't present during all of those conversations.
No way. Baloney. Okay. Now, Mr. Beard.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's hear it, sir.
Well, first off,
who's this person?
this is my girlfriend, Danielle.
Okay, because she's been dying to tell me something. I'm going to let her talk in a minute.
She
Go
wasn't
ahead.
even here. She was living with a guy in Reno.
Okay. Well, first off, her
Just a
dates
second.
are way off.
Do not interrupt him. Do you understand? Perfect.
Her dates are actually incorrect on just about everything, unfortunately, except for when I did take the truck back. That was correct. Beginning of February, I actually brought my roommate, Sean, at the time. But regarding the phone call with Robin, I was actually called when I took the truck back, and I believe he actually did ask me to pay $500 right then, which he said he would give me a check.
Why did you go and take the truck back, sir?
Because at that point...
Look at me. Don't look down
Okay. At that point in time, I'd found out that Rob was driving the truck, who unfortunately had 3 DUIs and should not have been driving.
That's him.
Yes, ma'am.
Put your hand down.
In which I do have a police report for. And on top of that, I hadn't received money. I had been trying to call her and get the money. I was sick. I got injured in a rodeo. Told her many times I needed it.
When for the first time did you ask her for the money? After October?
It was actually after the first payment of $1,000 in, it's actually before December. Between November and December, I'd been asking her multiple times that I needed the money.
And what was her excuse for not giving it to you?
Well, the few times that she actually did call me back, it was she just didn't have it. She wasn't working. She was working a different job. Rob was trying to work to get the money, but he had to pay off for classes for his DUIs and just was not able to get the money.
Just a minute. Okay, so you went to pick up the truck because you were repossessing it.
Yes, ma'am.
Title had never passed, I assume.
No, ma'am.
You had ownership of the
Yes,
truck
ma'am.
until it was paid off.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tell me about the dirt bike.
The dirt bike was actually given to me in end of August, and I was supposed to repair it like she had said. That was correct. And it actually was staying at my house because with her house she was renting, it just was cluttering up her garage, and I was still working on it, which was fine. And by the time the truck transaction was starting to go south, I had informed her I'd feel more comfortable if it stayed at my house until it was sold as collateral, and she did agree upon that, and it was considered just to stay at my house, and I was going to fix it and had every intention on giving it back if my truck was either fully paid off or given back to me in the condition I had given it to them.
Okay, so you took the truck back.
Yes, ma'am.
First thing, let me tell you, Mr. Beard, she's not getting the money back for the truck. She used your truck. She did not fulfill your contract. She is not entitled to any money back. It's not as if she took it and had it for one day. She took it and used it, and he drove it. No question in my mind, he drove it. My concern is with this bike. So now you have the truck. Did you sell the truck?
No, ma'am, I traded it.
You traded it for
what? It
what?
was hard selling it because when I had taken the truck back, it was at my house. I was in the process of repairing it, which it extensively needed. And they had came to my house when I was in Chico on business, called me, quickly left a message saying, I'm picking up the truck. I'm leaving my car for you. Before I even, that's not acceptable. I'm working on this truck.
What do you mean they're leaving that car for you?
They just said they would leave her car with the keys. I had no idea. By the time I got back home, there was her car with keys under the tire and my truck gone.
What kind of car did you leave?
A 99 Infiniti G20.
What did you leave it for?
Andrew had known that I was going to use the truck to move. I was moving out of my house. It was
just a second. So you were using just a second.
So I picked up the truck and used it to move.
You picked up the truck to use it.
Yes.
When?
I don't know the exact date.
You know the date?
I don't. I'm horrible with dates.
Early February.
Early February,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
It was February, so she left her car and picked up the truck after you had repossessed it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, got it. When you say you traded it in, what did you trade it in for?
I traded it for a boat because I felt at that time I can get more money after repairing the boat than I could the truck. because when I received the truck after she had taken it, after I repossessed it, the tailgate was smashed, my bed liner was scratched, the side of the truck. It was very apparent that they were bitter about me taking the truck and smashed it.
You have pictures of it?
I have pictures of how it looked. Unfortunately, I do not have pictures of how it looked after.
Well, why didn't you take pictures afterwards, sir?
Oh, I traded it as soon as it was messed up.
Well, then that's a problem that you have,
That was
sir.
my problem, yes, ma'am.
It certainly is a problem. Where's the dirt bike?
The dirt bike I sold after that, too.
Well, that was a mistake.
Yes, ma'am.
What year dirt bike was this?
She claimed it was a 2004 and that she had title.
You have the title,
I have the
too?
title right here.
I'd like to see it.
It's an 04 Honda CRF 50.
Let me see. Okay. How much did you sell it for?
$550, which was totally going to cover the mud in my radiator, the damage to my tailgate, the smashed spark plugs, and the condition overall the truck was running.
I don't know what these things cost. I have no idea.
I actually have a Blue Book statement.
I'd like to see it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I also have an estimate from Roseville Cycle Center that would be the replacement value as well
I'll
as...
use Blue Book.
It shows the retail and MSRP in 2004 of what that bike went for.
Okay. SRP in 2004 was $1,100. Retail now is $749, and the average trade-in was $562. But if she went to purchase it, at this point she'd have to pay $750. Is that what I'm understanding from this?
Yes, in an excellent condition. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What was wrong with it when you gave it to him to fix?
My son had got water in the tailpipe when he was washing it, so it just needed to be cleaned out.
Is that right?
No, ma'am.
I didn't think so. Otherwise, why would he have?
I'm not very good with
otherwise,
dirt
why
bikes,
would he
so
have
I
it?
don't know.
Otherwise, why would he have it since August? If all you had to do was just clean out the tailpipe.
It was running before that.
What had to be done with the bike?
The tailpipe did have to be cleaned out, the inside of the motor as well, because unfortunately it had smoke and oil burnout in it and mud, again, in the engine.
Fine. You shouldn't have sold her bike. Shouldn't have sold her bike. I understand your frustration, but you shouldn't have sold her bike. She doesn't get her $1,100 back, and she doesn't get what she's looking for, which was $2,700, because that's ludicrous. She gets $550, which is the trade-in value of the bike, and that's what you got for it.
Okay.
Right?
Yes,
Good. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $550. Thank you.
Pardon your excuse, you may
Oh,
step out.
excuse me. You were dying to say something. Is there anything that you were dying to say?
No, he covered it.
Perfect. Thank you.
Danielle Hines says her former live-in boyfriend, Devin Kilpatrick, owes for rent and the return of property. Devin says he moved out after Danielle filed for a restraining order.
Matt, Ms. Hines, the defendant is your former boyfriend. You
Yes.
lived together. He's also the father of your child.
Yes.
You had a lease together. He moved out 4 months prior to the lease terminating.
Yes.
You took him to court for 2 months of the 4 months.
Yes.
Because the other 2 months hadn't passed yet. And you got a judgment against him for those 2 months.
Yes.
Now you want the last 2 months of the rent that he owes you. And you also claim that you had a lot of pain and suffering because he wasn't a nice guy.
Yes.
Well, forget pain and suffering. You don't get paid for pain and suffering. You terminate a relationship for pain and suffering. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. So you want your rent.
Yes.
Mr. Kilpatrick has a very good excuse for not paying the rent for the last 2 months.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
He says that the reason he didn't pay rent for the last 2 months is because you filed a restraining order against him and his mother, and so he couldn't live in the apartment, and if he couldn't live in the apartment, then he wasn't going to pay rent.
Not
That's
true.
his defense.
Yes.
So, when did you move into the apartment?
We moved in March 14, 2006.
And you were both on the lease?
Yes, we were.
And when did you leave, sir?
I'm not exactly sure.
When did he leave?
November 9th, and they filed for the restraining order. He was
November 9th,
Yes.
2006.
Yes.
And when did you file a restraining order
I
against him?
filed November 2nd, but he was served November 14th at 5:55 a.m.
But you had filed it on November 2nd.
Yes.
I want to see the allegations that you put in the restraining order application. Thank you. You filed this on November the 2nd, and according to this, it says the most recent date of abuse was September 10th, 2006. And you say he strangled me to the point that I could not scream anymore. He also stated that he would only get a slap on the wrists.
If he did it again.
It would be something he would hit me because it was his first offense. And you filed this 2 months later. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Between September 10th and November the 2nd, when you went to the police to file for this restraining order, where were you living?
I was staying there, but he wasn't.
You were in the apartment?
Yes.
And he was not living there?
He was still living there, but he never came home. He was in and out. He would go to his mom's house. We were sleeping in separate bedrooms. I was sleeping in my daughter's room, and he was sleeping in our bedroom.
Fine. So then my question, 2 months later, what prompted you to go to the police?
I don't have transportation. Not only was I trying to get to the courthouse to file a restraining order on him, everything in between then, I was going to the police station. I was always talking to the police about what I can do about our child and him getting out of the apartment, but not necessarily him moving out because I still needed him to pay his half of the rent.
Just a second. You asked for, in your restraining order, a stay-away order asking that he may not be within 15 feet from you. How was he supposed to be within 15 feet from you if he was still living in the apartment?
Because at the time, whenever he would come home, he would go in his room, and I'll either be sleeping in the living room on the floor or in our bedroom.
Listen, did you want him out of the apartment or in the apartment?
I wanted him to stay because he was still on
Then
the
there was
lease.
no reason for you to file for a protective order.
I just
It's
didn't want him to
nonsense.
hit me again.
You said that the last time he put his hands on you was when he choked you 2 months before. That's what you swore to in here.
Yes.
So that there had to be a reason, 2 months later, that you went to the police, you managed to find your way to the police.
Yes.
And file this protective order.
I went to the courthouse to file that.
Listen, you're not being honest with me. He moved out. He had a right to move out. He would have been crazy to stay there. Absolutely insane to stay there with a protective order. When all you have to do is pick up the phone, call the police, they come, they arrest him. And all you have to do is say, he threatened me, and he finds himself in jail. So he would be insane to stay in the apartment.
May I please say something?
Sure.
It says right here that he was not even served. He didn't even know I had a restraining order on him until after. I'm telling you.
It doesn't make any difference whether he knew or not, madam. You knew.
Yes.
So how dare you come here knowing that you had the restraining order, that you didn't serve on him for another couple of days, but you knew you had it, and still want him to pay rent?
Because his name was still on the lease. I did not ask Devin to leave. They said 15 feet because his name was still on the lease. They could not kick him out. I had no choice. I didn't want him to put his hands on me again, Judge.
Good.
I was afraid. I didn't know what else to do.
I understand. You should have left. Should have left. But you can't go get a restraining order on him and say you have to stay in the house, despite the fact that I have a restraining order on you.
Okay.
So now you are like my prisoner. You look at me cross-eyed, I'm going to call the police. Whether he did anything bad to you in September or not, I don't know. Certainly you didn't go to the police in September. So he would be nuts to stay with you. And now you come to court and you say, I want him to pay the rent.
Yes, because...
When he did nothing to you in November, nothing to you in October, nothing to you 3 weeks in September. If I believe that you got into a fight and he put his hands on you in September, I'm not condoning that.
Okay.
And if you put him out right away, I would have said, okay.
Okay.
And if I believed that he choked you in September, I would have said, you're bad. You have to pay the rent.
Okay.
But when you wait 2 months, there's something else going on.
I tried.
Okay,
I
I'm
did
trying
everything-
to. Believe
No,
me,
Judge,
I'm trying.
I did everything I could to get to the police department. I went throughout the month of October to get information on what I could do because he's the father of my child. I was trying to ask for information about child custody and what I could do about everything.
I'm not talking about child custody.
I know
I'm talking
domestic
I'm
violence.
talking about a restraining order.
Okay.
Not child custody, not support, not anything else. Just about the fact that you were in abject fear of him and in need of a protective order that excluded him from the house. Because not to be within 15 feet of you is a ridiculous order against somebody that you expect to live in the apartment with you. Ridiculous. I'm telling you, you cannot live with somebody with a restraining order and expect them to stay in the apartment. Because of the way the laws are recognized now, all you have to do is call the police and say, he looked at me cross-eyed, I want him arrested.
Those were
And
my
then he's there on a violation of a protective order which allows them to incarcerate him for up to 6 months by just looking at you cross-eyed.
But those were not my intentions.
Oh, listen, I don't care what your intentions were or not. The fact is you did have a restraining order against him, and he was perfectly right to leave because you didn't go and file that restraining order at the time you alleged he hurt you.
Okay.
You waited 2 months. So there was some other agenda that you had, and I don't know what that was because you look at me, like you don't understand what I'm talking about. But then you were served with the restraining order and you came back into the apartment with your mother.
No, not my mother.
When?
Around, I guess, a week later.
After you were served?
Yeah, I came, I got all my stuff, and then that was it.
Not true.
You came and you got some of your stuff, included the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's what she's annoyed at because the refrigerator, she said, was given to both of you as a couple by your mother.
She didn't give it to us both as a couple.
I don't care. Yeah, she did at the time because you were both eating out of the refrigerator, I assume. But he's allowed to keep the refrigerator.
It was not a week later. It was the same day because I had to purchase a refrigerator the very same day. I have the receipt with the date.
But I don't understand what you want, and I don't understand what your pain and suffering is.
Because I almost had a miscarriage. I had to be taken out of school literally on November 29th. My doctor had to write me an excuse because I had to keep on being rushed to the hospital. And I have all the hospital papers stating that I had
You have a hospital paper that says it's his fault that you almost had a miscarriage?
Well, it was stress.
Of course it's stressful. Life is stressful, madam. Life is stressful.
Yes, it is.
Life is stressful. You don't want to be stressed until you're sure about somebody. You shouldn't get pregnant by them.
Actually, those were my intentions either.
Well, not your intentions. What you do is you take care.
But I was on birth control. I have the papers proving that I was on birth control. You would like to see it?
Well, I suggest you sue the birth control company because it failed. Listen to me, Miss Hines. Are you living in the apartment now by yourself?
Yes. No.
Well, how are you supporting yourself?
I had money that was saved up, and I spent all that money on the rent.
How old are you?
I'm 20 and a half.
So why don't you go to your father or your mother's house? You're 20 years old and you have a baby. He should pay child support, but he's not going to support you. You're not his wife.
No,
He said he'll contribute to the support of his child. He absolutely should do that.
But he's
Are you
not.
paying child support?
No, not yet.
Why not?
She just, I don't know, she just filed it, I guess.
She doesn't have to file it. Did you see your baby?
Yeah.
Well,
no.
You have to take care of your baby.
I see him when I can. I work about 6 days a week, so I can't be there all the time.
Well, if you work 6 days a week, then what you should do is you should have enough money to help support him.
But he
And you don't need a court order to tell you that, sir. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
I should see the money coming out of your wallet right now.
Please, for some diapers. I would like some diapers.
Listen to me. Don't talk to him.
Okay, I won't.
I should see money coming out of your wallet now. Did you hear what I said?
I heard you.
Get it out.
Don't have none in my wallet.
How could a man who works 6 days a week not have any money in their wallet?
I don't keep money in my wallet.
Where do you keep it?
In the bank.
Good. How much money do you have in the bank?
Don't know.
Well, I've got news for you, sir. When ultimately you're going to want to see this child, and the tape of this is going to be available for her, for whatever, you get no sympathy from me if a father needs a court order to tell him that he's supposed to pay child support. Court's not supposed to tell you that. And here is supposed to tell you that. Do you understand? So the support should be forthcoming. You don't have to pay anything for rent. Because she wanted to live alone, she filed for a protective order against you. And if that's the case, then she pays the rent. Got it?
Okay.
And if you don't want to pay the rent, go home to your mother. Or get a job and start supporting yourself.
I will.
Good. Perfect. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Ashley McLeod says former friend Justin Lawler owes for late fees associated with a broken window on her rental car. Ashley says police officers were forced to break into the car after Justin passed out drunk.
Miss McLeod, you and the defendant were friends. It's my understanding that you wanted to take a little day road trip together. You needed a car, so you rented a car on your credit card.
Yes.
And you were going from someplace to San Diego?
Actually, we were going from Austin, Texas to South Padre Island. And Justin had told me that he had to be on the rental car agreement because I couldn't rent the car by myself because I was under 21.
Okay, but the car was leased with your credit card?
Yeah.
Okay, and he was driving?
Yes.
What time did you rent the car?
We had gone that Friday. It was sometime in the afternoon to rent the car. And then we were going to leave for South Padre shortly after we had rented the car.
And you did?
Yep.
Was he drinking?
When the incident occurred, he had been to a few bars. He'd had a few drinks.
Well, that would be a yes.
Yes.
To make a long story short, what happened was he took the car to go from one place to another. I don't know where you were going. But according to you, you pulled the car over and fell asleep. But fell into a dead sleep coma. because the police came up to the car and they tried to wake you.
It was actually parked in a parking spot.
They tried to wake you, and they couldn't wake you from this deep coma sleep. They banged on the door, they rapped with their baton, and then they feared for your safety. Since the car was locked, they busted out the window of the car in order to ensure that you were safe.
Ashley McLeod says former friend Justin Lawler owes for late fees associated with her rental car. Ashley says police officers were forced to break into the car after Justin passed out drunk.
Now, the car had to be taken in to be fixed. You paid for the window, but it took time, and she was charged $500 extra on her credit card that she feels as if you're responsible for, because but for the fact that you fell asleep in the car, it wouldn't have happened. That's your case.
Yes.
Mr. Lawler has an interesting defense that we are all breathlessly waiting to hear.
When we first rented the car, I actually told her to get the rental car insurance, because that way if anything did happen, we would not be liable for the damages done. And at that time, she said that she had insurance. It would be $100 cheaper. The guy rang it up with the insurance on it for the rental car. And then she said, well, no, it'd be cheaper if we do it the other way. I didn't want to, because I had rented a car before and know that if you get rental car insurance, it covers everything. So she insisted on putting her current insurance on there. And once we got down there, her mom, she talked to her, told her the insurance was on there. And then her mom said if anything happened to that car, that their insurance would get dropped. So the insurance didn't cover the actual damages done at all.
Can I say something? What?
No!
Oh, sorry.
I'm not finished with him yet.
Sorry.
So let me understand his defense. His defense is she should have taken out the insurance. That's your defense.
Yes, ma'am.
Sounds right to you?
Well, that sounds like what he said.
That sounds right. Why did you fall asleep in the car, Mr. Lawler?
Why did I fall asleep in the car?
Just a second. Is there an echo in here? I know that you think that it's going to give you an opportunity to think of a reason.
He wasn't sleeping.
I'll get back to you. Why did you fall asleep in the car?
I had a couple drinks and I passed out in the car, and it was parked in a parking spot.
There you go.
I was not driving the car, though, that night.
All right, Mr. Lawler, let's dissect what you just said to me.
Okay.
You think that because you talk fast, that I'm not going to be able to dissect what you said to me? Okay. So you had had a few drinks and you passed out in the car.
I pulled the car over. I didn't drink. Yes,
That's what you just said. Had a few drinks. Now, where did you do this drinking?
I had a couple hotel rooms.
Not in bars. You were in hotel
No,
rooms.
I was actually... Sorry.
Who were you in hotel rooms with?
Just different kids we were selling tickets for our Akon party that next day.
How many different hotel rooms had you been in drinking that night?
Just a couple, actually.
Same hotel?
Just different ones.
Different hotels?
Yes.
How did you get there from one to the other?
I drove the first...
I drove.
The first one, yes.
Just a minute. I drove. And how'd you get to the second one?
The second one?
Yes, the
My
second
friend took
one.
me to the second one in his
The
car.
second one. Your friend took you in his car, and you left your car where?
There's a condo that was parked at.
You didn't tell me you were in a condo, sir. You said you were in a hotel
Well,
room.
that's what South Potter has, condos and hotels. We just go to different ones.
You told me you were in a hotel room. Do you see where we're going, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Cameras pick up everything. So do my eyes. I have very, very bad vision when I have to read something without my glasses. Far away, I can tell a smirk and an I gotcha from a mile away. What do you do for a living?
I'm a promoter for a production company.
They're usually pretty glib and pretty light on their feet. Promoters. I've been promoting myself for 3 times as long as you're alive. You owe her for the car. And you're going to pay her for the car because it was your fault.
Even though the insurance...
Your fault! Nobody laid you down, pried open your mouth, and poured alcohol down your throat. Nobody told you to fall asleep in the car. Nobody told you not to tell your friend, would you please take me back to one of these condos where I'm supposed to be staying tonight? Nobody told you any of that. You were drunk. You drove a car drunk. You passed out in the car. Your fault. You pay for it.
The remaining charges that he owes me for is $541.63.
Did you pay for your half of the rental?
Yes.
Okay. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $541.63. Thank you very much. That's all.
Paxton Durlow is suing tattoo artist Breezy Barrett for breach of contract on the bartering of a vehicle. Paxton says Breezy was supposed to tattoo him in exchange for a truck.
Mr. DeLoe, you traded your truck for services to be performed by the defendant, who's a tattoo artist. She paid some in cash for the truck, is that right?
Correct.
And the remainder was to be worked off in this barter arrangement. Is that right?
There was also a bike included in the deal as well.
That you got?
Yes, correct.
Your claim is that Miss Berendt did half of the tattoo and then modified the agreement that you had to complete the tattoo by telling you that you could only come for your appointments between 9 and 12 at a time when you work, therefore requiring that you go to somebody else to have the tattoo finished.
Correct.
That's what you want to pay for, plus some harassment nonsense. Everybody's been harassed. You know who's most harassed here?
You.
And Miss Berendt says that you caused her to lose business because what you did was you kept canceling appointments. And in addition to that, you sexually harassed her. So she's counterclaiming. When did you make this deal with the truck?
I'm not exact on the dates at all. I mean, I have the contract, I guess, in here. So.
Okay, so let me have the contract, please. Okay, so the sales agreement requires that the tattoo is to be completed in 2-hour sessions, no more than 3 weeks apart, unless otherwise agreed to by the parties, and that's dated 7/21/06, correct?
Correct. Yes.
When did you start the tattoo?
I was already in the middle of tattoos. This deal came on after I was already getting work from her.
So when you were supposed to start it in 2-hour sessions, according to the agreement?
Yes, that would have been starting that date.
So? What happened?
Well, the appointments were going well. Then I would get an occasional push. She would ask me if I could come in on a different day because there was a person that absolutely had to have that appointment. And it was a way for her to make money and that she was a sole provider for her home. So I agreed. And then it became redundant. And then
what?
I didn't agree any further. It started getting to where I couldn't get anything done.
Did you ever cancel appointments yourself?
The last time that I had an appointment to go to was one I canceled.
How many times did she change your appointment?
I believe 4 times, maybe even more.
And it was always because she had a paying customer?
A paying customer or something came up. She did have a mother who was terminally ill, which I fully understood. And she also changed appointments there too, which I did not consider in the claim.
Okay. When did she tell you about this business of only coming in the morning?
After a discussion of me not getting anything done, the whole conversation was via text, and I have it, if you'd like
I'd like
to
to see it.
Would you like to see pictures of the truck as well?
No.
Okay.
Not necessary. Oh, well, here's your problem. Breezy, you're Breezy, right?
Yes.
Here's your problem. It is clear to me that the two of you have a dispute in these text messages with regard to whose fault it was, etc. You know, clearly you were not yourself as a result of your mother's illness, because that's clear from these emails, and that there were certain stresses in your life. But when you say to him, in the future, you shouldn't off your artist until after the work is done, would be enough for me to say that you breached this contract and I wouldn't let you do any work on me. That's a threat. I mean, I don't know anything about tattoos except that I've seen them. They're done with needles, right? Correct. I wouldn't let anybody near me with a needle who said to me I wouldn't take any action until after it was all done and I was happy. You want to say anything to me?
I would love to.
Go ahead.
After 6 months of tattooing on him, I canceled 2 appointments.
Well, that's too many.
One being I'm a sole provider of my children. I only work 5 hours a day because I have preschool pickup, drop-off, daycare closes.
Whatever. Listen,
okay.
He's not your mother. He's not your sister. He's not your brother.
He was a friend.
Just a second. You canceled 2 appointments. Not tragic.
My second appointment I canceled was because his appointment was 2 days after my mother died.
You canceled the 2 appointments.
He called and made 4 appointments. 2 weeks, 2 hours back-to-back. No-showed on every one of them. I only work 5 hours a day.
Show me.
No-show.
Show
It's
me.
right here.
He says that that's not true.
Right here.
It's in pencil, Your Honor.
It doesn't matter if it's in pencil.
Let me take a look at it.
That's my appointment book. Here's my apprentice who helps make all my appointments.
Do you remember independently making these appointments?
She wasn't there at the time.
Just a second. Just answer my question. Do you remember independently making these appointments, yes or no?
During that point in time.
Just answer my question. Fine. Thank you. I want you to give me the date of the first appointment. Would you give that book back to her, please? Give me the date of the first appointment you say he missed.
Monday, January 15th.
What was the next one?
1/19/07.
Well, that's not 2 weeks apart.
No, he called after no showing and said
sorry, can you get me in? So I did. I slid him in.
Okay, well, that's not 2 weeks apart. First you told me he made appointments 2 weeks apart over a month and didn't appear. So now it's 1:15:07.
Okay.
Then you Then you said he called you and said, I'm sorry, could you fit me in? You made it for 1:19:07, and then you say he didn't show up.
Then he had February 4th.
Go ahead.
Then he had February 16th.
Can you show me, Miss Barrett, anywhere in these text messages where you say that he missed appointments on the 15th, the 19th, or February 4th, which is why you decided to change the rule, because you have a lot of emails going back and forth, a lot of bad language going back and well, from your end. But there isn't, according to what I see here, one place where you wrote in your email that he missed appointments on January 15th, January 19th, or February 4th. And all of these text messages were written on February 6th. Not one place do you talk about 3 missed appointments.
Those are his text messages.
Show me yours.
That phone was dropped in the toilet.
Okay.
But he could easily have left off the first 4 emails for you.
He could have.
You know?
And your phone maybe could have been dried off from the toilet. You have to take care of the rest of his tattoo. That was your contract with him.
I never had a problem with that.
That was your contract. How much will it cost to finish the tattoo?
It's an estimate because, I mean...
How much is the estimate?
I have it right here if you'd like to see it. He believes it to be between $1,440 and $1,800.
Can I see, please?
It depends on the work.
Where is it? Is it on your arm?
It's on both arms. And
got it.
There's not more than $600 left there.
Well, then you should have done it yourself.
I would love to.
Well, you can't because you threatened him. Okay. Now, you also don't mention anywhere the sexual harassment that you talk about. You want to tell me about it?
Yeah, the entire time I worked on him, it was fondling me, grabbing on me. I leave my life for you the whole time. That's why she's
good.
here.
Okay, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. The counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Mark Windhausen says ex-girlfriend Lana Speakman owes for the money he paid towards a Dodge Durango. Lana claims Mark was stealing from their share for his drug habit.
Mr. Windhausen, you and the defendant lived together for a period of time, and it is your claim that at the time she broke up with you and told you to leave, she kept your property. She kept the truck that you had been making payments on and some other personal property that you had purchased for the house.
Correct.
Ms. Speakman said everything is hers.
Yes.
When did you move in together?
About 6 of 04.
June of 04.
Right.
How old are you?
I'm 24.
How old are you?
34.
You have children?
No.
What kind of work do you do, Mr. Windhausen?
I'm a welder.
How long have you been welding?
About a year and a half now.
Make good living?
Decent. It's fair.
Tell me what you make.
I'm about $14.50.
An hour?
An hour, yes.
How much did you make last year?
How much did I make last year? About $12,338.
You worked full-time?
Yes, I did work full-time. I got laid off in December of 05, and I was rehired back on, so I had
When?
it in February.
But other than that, you worked continuously?
Correct.
And what did you do with your money?
What did I do with my money?
Why do you keep asking me a question? I know the question that I asked. What did you do with your money when you got your money, when you were living with Miss Speakman?
I cashed my checks at the U.S. Bank, and I went and paid it to, just gave her cash.
Well, how much cash did you give her?
Approximately about $340 per week.
It was different every week.
Tell me about this truck.
This truck, I needed a vehicle to get back and forth to work. I did not have one. I wasn't able to put one in my name because my credit wasn't the greatest. And at the time, I was working on getting a work permit to make a commute back and forth to work.
What did your bad credit have to do with getting a work permit, Mr. Windhausen?
Because I wasn't able to put the truck in my name.
Did you have a driver's license?
I did not. I just had a work.
Well, that's an answer why you can't have a truck in your name, sir.
Correct.
So you were going to drive this truck despite the fact that you didn't have a license?
No, until I got my work permit.
Did you drive the truck without
I did,
a license?
Yes.
So Miss Speakman put the truck in her name and allowed you to drive it without a license?
Correct.
Jan, down, I get to you. And who made the payments on the truck?
I did.
How much were the payments every month?
Approximately about $340 a month.
$340 a month
Plus
is exactly the
insurance.
same amount that you gave her. You said a week. That's a number you must like. You told me you gave her $340 a week when you cashed your paycheck, and now you tell me
Well,
that,
that's
your truck
excluding-
payment was $340.
That was excluding making the payments on the refrigerator and the stove and the bedroom set.
How much was the truck payment?
About $340.
And how much did you used to give her every week from your paycheck?
Around $340, yes.
He's got it down, and he's not going to waver. And how did you make the truck payment?
Cash.
Now, because we're just dealing with the truck so far, when did you kick him out?
July 7th of '06.
Why?
Because I found out he was doing drugs. He actually, July 1st is actually when we broke up. He couldn't get a ride until July 7th. He stole $400 out of my purse. Said he was going to the store to get ice and didn't come back for like 12 hours because he was doing drugs.
What kind of drugs does he do?
Cocaine.
Have you ever seen him do cocaine?
No, I haven't. He told me.
What did he say?
A couple months prior, he took a lot of money. We had a joint checking account for a little while because I went to get money out and all the money was gone. Well, then I questioned him about it, and he finally told me that he was doing cocaine, that he had a drug problem, and then he didn't want to tell me what the drug was, and then he finally told me it was cocaine.
How much money did he take out of the joint account?
About $1,500.
Do you remember when?
It was March and April. He did it on 2 different occasions where he took hundreds of dollars out a couple times. I mean, hundreds, like $600 a night.
It's not true?
No?
No.
Don't do drugs.
No, I don't.
You willing to take a drug test?
I am willing, yes.
Willing to take a hair follicle test?
That's fine.
Right after court?
It's fine.
You understand that if you go for one of these tests, they will, and if it's positive, they won't let you be a welder. You understand that?
Correct.
You prepared to sign a release that the drug test results can be sent to your employer? Is not an answer.
I have smoked weed, yes.
Weed
So-
we're not talking about, sir. We're talking cocaine.
All right.
Got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Perfect. If you have a problem and you're 24 years old, you better get rid of your problem. Do enough cocaine, so you're going to have a brain like mush. You know, when you start up here, you can have a brain like mush. When you start over here, it's over very, very soon. Now, how could you take money out of a bank account?
It's my money, too.
Well, if you're putting in $300 a week to run a household, you have rent, you have food, you have gas, you have electric, you have all the other stuff. And was he giving you an extra $340 for the truck payment?
No, he wasn't. He gave me, his checks were different every week. So he gave, sometimes it was only $100. Sometimes he didn't give me any money at all.
Yeah, because if he's making $15 an hour, earning $12,000 a year just doesn't,
Well, that was
doesn't make it.
The truck payment was $320, and it did come directly out of my bank account ever since I bought
Well,
the
it
truck.
may have come directly out of your bank account. That doesn't mean, quite frankly, Ms. Speakman, that he wasn't giving you money. My question is, was he giving you money earmarked for this car payment, or was he giving you a certain amount of money every week?
It was different amounts every week because, like I said, sometimes his checks were always different. Sometimes he would give me nothing. Sometimes he would give me $100. There was a couple times he probably gave me $300.
And what about the monthly truck payment?
What?
Did he give you money for the
Directly
monthly
for
truck
that?
payment?
No.
In cash is my question.
No.
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious, how could she make the payment for a car payment, a truck payment, a house payment, and all the other utilities if I was not paying any money to that household?
She didn't say you weren't paying any money.
But how could she afford
I make
those
a lot
vehicles?
more money than he does.
What kind of work do you do, Ms. Speakman?
I work at a factory.
And how much do you earn an hour?
$22 an hour.
And how much did you earn last year?
$50,000.
And you were earning $15 an hour, which is, you know, only a third less, and you only made $12,338, sir. That figure that you told me specifically, $12,338, which is what you said you earned last year, only 2 months you were out of work. Ms. Speakman.
Yes.
What did you do with the truck?
I still have the truck. I'm still making payments on the truck.
What are you going to do with the truck?
I'm probably going to keep it.
Now, if Mr. Wendhausen is prepared to get a loan for $5,000 in his name, are you prepared to give him the truck?
No.
Sure. Sure you are. Listen to me, Mr. Wendhausen. You come back to me with a fully committed loan in your name for $5,000, and I will direct Miss Speakman to turn over the truck to you. Do you understand?
I do.
But she certainly doesn't want to give you a truck that's in her name, and she's certainly not going to give you the value of it or what you claim to put in, because you can't prove what you put in to the truck unless you have canceled checks.
No, I paid everything cash. Yes.
Right. So go get yourself a loan, and then Miss Speakman is going to turn over the truck to you. You think that's going to happen, Miss Speakman?
I don't think he'll be able to get a loan.
Correct. Correct. But if he can...
But what about I've paid it, like for the whole year that he hasn't been there?
It was sort of a fluid situation. Right. But I certainly don't think that you ought to get stuck with this truck and turn it over to him. And I certainly don't believe that he, each and every month, paid you his portion of the expenses as well as the $340 for the truck, because he didn't make that much money.
Right.
Now, what other property do you claim, sir, is yours that she kept when you
I
moved
have
out?
a GE arranged stove that I
When
purchased.
did you purchase that, sir?
I purchased it in about 11:05.
And you moved out in
7/06.
And did you eat while you were there?
I did, yes.
And did you use the stove?
I only had it for about a month or two before I moved out.
Show me proof that you purchased it.
He just said we got the stove in November and he moved out in July. So
I got it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I see it's purchased by you, Mark Wendhausen.
Right.
Show me how you paid for it.
I paid cash.
I have a check.
Can I see it, please?
These are the 2 payments I made. These are the 4 payments that were made total.
Okay. She's got proof of the payments, sir.
Proof of the payments that I paid?
Well, show me your payments. It doesn't say that this was paid in cash.
I paid those payments, ma'am.
To whom?
To Turner Electric.
Show
in
me.
Cash. Don't you see there's cash? She writes checks. I pay cash.
What else, Mr. Wendhausen?
I also have receipts here for refrigerator.
When you moved into the house, Mr. Wendhausen, was there a refrigerator in the house?
Yes. Can you please tell me where all my money was going?
All your $12,000?
Well, I lived there for two and a half years.
All your $12,000?
His money was going up his nose. Mine
Just a
was
second.
paying
Mr. Wendhausen, I don't think that you understand, sir. That barely supports a person. You don't get it.
I'm not getting it. I'm making payments that, you know.
Show me that you're still making payments.
I'm done. Those are the receipts. That's paid off.
And you paid for it, and you used the refrigerator, and you used the stove while you were in her house?
Yeah, it's my
Goodbye,
name.
Mr. Wendhausen.
Do you think I could take
I think you have a problem, and I think that you really have to take care of your problem. If you manage to secure a loan for the truck, I am going to direct Ms. Speakman to turn the truck over to you. We will recalendar this case as soon as the clerk receives indication that you've received a loan, and I will direct this truck that you want to be turned over to you. Do you understand?
Okay, I do, but...
Good. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Marlene Lacey claims fellow motorist Sarah Rochon rammed her car during an incident of road rage. Sarah claims it was Marlene who ran into her. She is countersuing for the resulting damage.
I have a complaint and I have a counterclaim. Each of you claim road rage by the other. And Miss Lacey, you claim that the defendant assaulted you.
Yes.
The defendant denies that. So I'm used to, quite frankly, hearing about these road rage incidents with guys behind the wheel of a car. Very rarely do I see mature women who get involved with that kind of stupidity. It's very distressing. When did this happen?
March 12th of 07.
What time of the day?
3:30 p.m.
Where were you coming from or going to?
I was going to a doctor's appointment southbound on Highway 99.
Anybody in the car with you?
No.
And where were you going or coming?
I was picking up my son, going southbound on 99.
Okay, tell me what happened.
I was in the, there's a carpool lane, and then there's 3 regular lanes. Mr. Sean was a carpool because she had her daughter with her, but she was in the regular lane, and traffic was all backed up. So I was trying to get to my doctor's appointment. I rushed around her in the carpool lane and came back over real quick.
So you cut her off?
Well...
Just a second. So you cut her off?
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's
okay.
what you did. Just a second. Just a second. That's exactly what you did. You cut her off.
Okay.
Now, because there is no rule that if you have more than one person in the car, you have to drive in a carpool lane. The carpool lane merely allows you to be in that lane if you're more than one person.
Correct.
But there's no requirement that you go in a carpool lane if you're two people.
Correct.
I question you about that, Miss Lacey, because you hear that you were annoyed with her because she should have been in the carpool lane and not taking up space in the other 3 lanes where there was traffic. That's what you seem to indicate here.
Correct.
Well, that's ridiculous. I mean, that's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard. There are tens of thousands of cars on the road. You're complaining about this lady because she didn't want to go in a fast lane with her daughter? That's ridiculous. And then you did the wrong thing. You cut her off. Now, I haven't gotten to you yet, but we will. Because I have a feeling that both of you ladies acted very badly that day. So after you cut her off, what happened?
I proceeded down southbound 99. I took the Florin Road exit and headed eastbound. There's 2 lanes on eastbound Florin. I was in the left lane, and I noticed a couple of minutes after I exited Florin Road, I noticed in my rearview mirror Miss Rashawn in the right lane, and she comes up. She's next to my car yelling at me and calling me a few names.
She's yelling at you. What is she calling you? She's calling you bad names?
She's calling me bad names.
And what did you say to her?
I didn't say anything. I was like, you know, I was trying to get to my doctor's appointment. That's all I was trying to do. And she started calling me the B word and yelling at me for cutting her off, et cetera, et cetera. And next thing I knew, her car is over in my lane, hits my car. I'm looking, and in my lane is a tan SUV, and my first thought was, this lady is going to make me hit this SUV in front of me. So I slammed on my brakes. She had so much force on my car that she ended up over in the left lane, and I took a right onto Palmer House, right here. And I came down here. Because I wasn't sure, like I said, she was extremely upset, so I was scared to stop or anything. I got on the phone, was trying to get through to 911. She kept following me, and then I lost her, and I came back, and she was parked. So I was trying to take a picture of her license plate. So when I got through to 911, I would have the license plate number. As I was focusing in on the license plate, I had my windows down. She gets out of her car, comes up to my vehicle, to the passenger side, starts screaming and yelling at me on how I hit her car, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, no, I didn't. Next thing I knew, she reaches in through the passenger side window, grabs my purse out of my car, and I was in shock. I was like, wait a minute, that's stealing, that's my purse. So I get out of my car, I go around the back of my car, and she dumps my purse and throws everything on the ground. And I go to pick it up, and she rushes me, scratches me and everything. She is just going at me. And I was in shock, and I believe, excuse my language, but I think I said, what the F, that's assault? And she goes, no, your boyfriend beats you up. I'm like, oh, is that the way we play the game? And then she continues with these 2 gentlemen came out, pulled her off of me. I asked them if they would stick around and talk to the police. They said no. I went to pick up my belongings off of the ground, and when I went to stand back up, she pushes me. I didn't have a chance to brace myself or anything. I fell back, and my head hit the street, twisted my ankle, bruise on my right arm, everything's on the right side. Again, I get back up and start trying to retrieve my stuff again, and that's when the officer pulled up.
Okay, your version.
That was totally a lie.
Your version.
My version is, we were southbound on 99 on our way to pick up my son. We were in the carpool lane. She's tailgating me. My daughter noticed that.
Don't tell me what anybody else knows.
Okay,
what happened from your perspective?
Okay, she went around on the shoulder to get around me. I wasn't in the number 2 lane. I was in the number 1 lane. She went around on the shoulder, started driving wildly. She was weaving in and out of traffic, got back in the carpool lane. I exited off the freeway. My daughter noticed when we were over the overpass. She said, the same car is getting off the freeway. Is that hers? I said, I don't know. So we were driving east on Florin, and then all of a sudden, I saw a car driving up fast behind me. So I moved over to the right lane, and lo and behold, bam, she crashes right into me.
Where was the damage to your car?
pictures right here.
See it.
And you can
You have
tell.
pictures of the damage to your car?
Yes. And she hit me. Shh.
Why don't I have any pictures of the front of either of these cars?
Because I didn't hit her. She hit me. She's claiming.
I said, why don't I have any pictures of the front of either of these cars?
Because there was no damage in the front of my car.
But if I had a picture of that, it would have been helpful.
Okay.
Because she sideswiped me. She didn't.
I did not sideswipe you.
No. This car looks to me as if this is where the impact was in the
That's
front.
her tire marks.
That's where she
Her
crashed
tire
into
was-
me.
Well-
And then you can see on my picture
The
where she
dam-
stayed on my...
The damage to her car is mostly on the side.
Right.
Damage to your car, mostly over here. Okay, so she hits your car, and?
She tried to veer me to the right into a ditch. Why I had a picture of the ditch there. And then I managed to get ahead of her, so I passed the light, but she went to the right on Palmer House and tried to run from me. So I was like, she's not going to run from me. So I ended up backing up in the street and following her down the street. And she made a U-turn in someone's driveway. I came around behind her. She backed up and just crashed right into the back of my car. You could see the dent by the gas tank there. And then she managed to drive back down the street, went into a church parking lot. She did a donut in there, and I got a picture of the marks on the ground there, if you look at the picture. And she was heading straight for me like she wanted to play chicken. So I was like, this lady has no regard for me and my daughter. And first of all, why would I even hit her with my daughter in the car?
You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at the police reports, please.
And I'm a commercial truck driver, so why would I want to ruin my driving record? That's my livelihood. I am a Class A truck driver, so I have no reason to be crashing into anybody.
You told the police that after you took the pocketbook out of her car, which you acknowledged that you did, which was the wrong thing to do, you understand, that she slapped you.
Yes.
Where did she slap you?
Right here on the right side of my cheek.
And that's when you hit her?
Yes.
You have photographs of your injuries?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see them, please. You hurt her pretty badly, madam. You hurt her pretty badly. That's unreasonable.
She hit me.
I'm not sure about that. No, you say she slapped you. I believe that, but you assaulted her.
She hit me first.
No, I don't believe that. Not only don't I believe it, but even if she slapped you in the face after you took her purse, she's allowed to do that.
Well, I didn't steal her purse.
Yes, you did.
I grabbed it, yes.
Yes, you did. You stole her purse. The purpose of your removing it was not to steal its contents, was to make sure that you had identifying information about her because she was leaving. You could have had the same identifying information by just taking down her license plate number. You chose not to do that. You committed a felony. You reached into her car and took her purse. You lost your temper. That's a felony.
Well, anybody would under the circumstances.
No, my dear.
Well, not stealing the purse,
I
but
wouldn't
I
have done
was
it.
hot.
I would have stayed in my car until a police officer came. I would have locked my doors, rolled up my windows,
I called
and said,
911.
You may have called 911, but you stay in your car, especially when you have your daughter with you. You don't know what kind of nut this is. All you did was say to me, this person was driving erratically. That's what you said to me. She cut me off. She rammed my car. And instead of sitting in your car and protecting your daughter, you got out of the car and stole a pocketbook.
Actually, I got out of the car to estimate my damages, and she drove up alongside of me, started yelling at me.
So what? So, further proof.
But I was away from her.
You weren't away from her. You walked up to her car and reached into her bag. You can't do that. You understand that? Yeah, good. I'm glad you understand it. And you should be more responsible if you have your child with you. Now, go ahead.
I also asked her if she was on medication, and she said she was.
It's very possible. And if she told you she was on medication, I mean, I know that you didn't ask it in a calm way, because if somebody rams your car, as she rammed your car, you're not calm. So you probably said, what are you on?
No, I asked her, are you on any medication?
And she said?
Yes, I am.
Was that before or after you assaulted her?
That was before.
You got me? In any event, you have medical bills?
I actually don't have medical bills, except for like my prescriptions, to like $60 for prescriptions.
Okay.
I also have a report from, because there's more injuries than the pictures, because when I fell, my head hit the
I'd
ground.
like to see it.
So there's
I didn't cause her to hit her head. She did that on her own.
Medical report.
And my daughter can witness to that.
I'm not going to call your daughter as a witness.
Okay.
I think you put her through quite enough.
Marlene Lacey is accusing fellow motorist Sarah Roshan of ramming her car during an incident of road rage.
What?
It says in the police report that there's no visual marks on her face. She said,
No, I read that there were no visual marks. She was not injured. No, I understand that.
Okay.
I do believe, however, that you damaged her car.
Okay.
I think that she lost it, and I think that you behaved very badly that day, Miss Lacey.
Okay.
Very badly. I think that you were in a rush to get to a doctor's appointment, and you were driving erratically on the road in order to do that. You placed a lot of people's lives in jeopardy, because that's what... You practically acknowledged that in your statement, but she's not allowed to lose her temper and assault you. Now, you were banged up.
Yes.
You were banged up. I'm awarding you $3,500 in fees for your pain and suffering,
Okay.
medical bills, whatever they were.
Okay.
I'm awarding her $3,500 on her counterclaim to fix her car for the damage that you caused.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
That means each of you gets nothing. That's all.
Yes, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.